All right, hello, my name is Jason. I use he, him pronouns. We are here to play a game called Alien World. This is a game I've made up, I've been playing testing, and we're going to run it with these guys today. This is a sci fi survival horror story game. I've taken the best bits of a bunch of games that I like, primarily Zombie World, but also Free Allegiance Alien RPG, Cartel, Escape from Dino Island, and two games by Alan, who's here with us today, Against the Dark Conspiracy and Alien Dark. So I've grabbed and stolen a lot of ideas and meshed them together into a Frankenstein's monster that I hope everyone will enjoy. We are playing a scenario called Haunted Station. We have 5 sessions. We just so happen to have 5 Sundays in October here. So we have 5 sessions to play this out. That is my quick intro. We'll have a bunch of other stuff, but first let's introduce themselves with their pronouns, and let me know if you have any experience in the games that I mentioned, especially Zombie World. Also, I am curious if you have any experience with the computer game Alien Isolation, because we will be using a lot of the art design ideas as we play this game. As we play this game, I'll be stealing a lot of ideas from Alien Isolation, and I was just curious if you played it. So, anyways, Zombie World especially, and then also Alien Isolation. Have you had any experience? And then I've played with each of you guys quite a few times, and I know most of you have experience with Roll20. But just let me know if you're not comfortable with Roll20, you're comfortable, or somewhere in between. So let's go around the table. Looking at my screen, going clockwise from me, I see Alan is first. So, Alan, tell us about yourself and your experience.
Hello, my name is Alan. My pronouns are he, him, and I've been with the Gauntlet for 3 and a bit, getting on 4 years, I think now, quite a long time, and it's changed my role-playing experience enormously. As Jason has said, I write some games. In terms of experience, apart from Against the Dark Conspiracy and Alien Dark, with which I have significant experience, I've played Zombie World once. I've played Hat Cartel, the Star Wars hack of Cartel, a couple of times. And I've never played an Alien video game.
But you definitely should, Alan. Uh, I think you'd really enjoy that game. But let's move on to Paul.
Hello, I'm Paul, pronouns he, him. My experience of the said games, I've never played Zombie World, I've never played Cartel, I have played Alien, and I've never played Alien Isolation.
Okay, and Daniel.
Hello, my name is Daniel. My pronouns are he, him. I've been playing at the Gauntlet occasionally for the last 2 years, I think. I have never played Zombie World, but I have played Cartel a couple of times, and I have played and run the Alien RPG from Free League. I also played Alien Dark with Alan. As far as Alien Isolation, I have purchased the game and I wanted to play it as a preparation for my Alien RPG game, but I have never got the time to do it. So it's on my PlayStation and waiting for me to start it. So maybe after this, yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then Will.
Hi, I'm Will, pronouns he, him. I've been with the Gauntlet for 3 years, I think, maybe. And I've played Alien Dark, Alien RPG, with 3 of the people on this call, both of those things. I think I'm even maybe slightly credited in Alien Dark, I'm not sure. I've finished Alien Isolation, I've played all of the Alien vs. Predators games, I've read all of the Alien Dark Horse comics, and I run Hook Cartel, and in fact have hacked together some of the stuff for that with Rich. So yes, I feel for once the most experienced person on the call.
There you go. All right, so we got a range of experiences with various elements of the stuff that go into this, but I'm sure all of you will pick up, the things as we go. But I'll make a point to explain things, so hopefully everybody's, on board. Let's talk a little bit about our resources that we're going to use. So first of all, there is a manual for this, which I put the link to on the Slack. So you can check that out if you want. You don't need to. Everything that we'll be using is, I've dragged from that into Roll20. So you shouldn't need to refer to it, but you certainly can if you want to. Let's see. Let's talk about Roll20. So let's see. I see everyone's there except for Will. Go ahead and jump in when you're ready, Will, onto Roll20. So let me talk about a few things. Maybe you guys already know this, but I want to make sure that we all have, we're all on the same page. Some key things. So first of all, we in Roll20 use pages. You guys should all be on, let me make sure that's true. You're all on what's called our tabletop. This is where we're going to spend most of our time as we play the game. This is where we're going to have all of our quote unquote dice rolling. We're going to keep track of lots of elements of the story. And you have your character mats where you keep track of your characters. But as we play the game, I can drag you around to other various other pages, which, just for visuals or for maps or whatnot. And remembering that unfortunately, you guys can't change yourself from page to page, but I can move you to another page, but have myself looking at a different page. So if I'm talking about something that, is not shown on your screen, just jump in and say, oh, Jason, you forgot to drag us back to X, Y, or Z, and I'll drag you back to it. But yeah, like I said, we'll spend most of our time on this tabletop. There is, in the upper left of your screen in Roll20, there's a series of buttons, which I call widgets. And there's one I want to point out, which is the third one down, at least for the Game Master. I forget what it is for players, but there's one that has like a little paintbrush. If you click on that, it gives you a bunch of options for editing, for drawing on the board. And the key one is, at least for right now, is text. If you go down to text, you should be able to then create a text box on the tabletop, and you'll need to use that for your character map. So just to practice, everybody grab one of these player mats. You see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. They got sort of a green and yellow boxes. Go ahead and claim one of those and put your name under player name in that player name box, just to practice creating a text box. You'll probably see for the tabletop, if you put up in the upper left, once you create a text box, it'll have like a little pop-up that has the font size, and then colors. You can change all of that. And I find for the tabletop, 40 is a good font size. So go ahead and put your name into one of these player name areas. I see Will. I see somebody's too small. You can make it bigger. If you select it, you can go then and change the size, or you can delete, start over, whatever. So go ahead and just play with that. Get your name in there. Claim one of these mats.
I'm pretty sure Paul just claimed the one that I was typing in.
Paul's on the bottom left, and I see Will, you're in the bottom center.
Oh, okay, there's the bottom center one.
And
I'm kind of not sure how to do. Claim a mat.
I see Daniel's name. So then once you one thing to remember, once you use the text tool, be sure to click the little arrow, and then you can select things again.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll end up keep drawing all over the board.
Do I have to draw a different mat? Where do I draw it from?
No, I saw your name. I saw your name there for a moment. It looks like you deleted it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I do. Yeah, so I did it right. Yeah.
Yeah, you did it right.
Okay. So I can do it again. I can.
Alan, you figuring it out?
I thought I was. I
don't see your name anywhere.
No, well, I when you're talking about mats, I'm a bit lost, because I've gone to the text box. I've created a text box, but it's black on white, and the only place I can see that is if I float it against one of your existing kind of emergency power or life support things.
Alan, on the right-hand side at the top, you've got the zoom.
Yeah.
Set that to the lowest, about 20%.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. So it's right. So it's not about creating a text box at all.
Well, it is when you.
Yeah. But it's about creating one down there. Yeah. Okay.
The right-hand ones aren't taken, Alan.
Okay.
Yep. And as we play today, don't feel bad about getting lost in any of these steps, because today is going to be about getting situated, and the technical elements are a very big part of this. A couple of you guys have never played Zombie World, so you're going to find there are certain ideas in Zombie World that once you play a session, it'll feel okay and it'll feel intuitive, but you're going to find it's very natural with Zombie World to be like, huh, what? And we will sort that out, today. So today is going to be the session. We got 5 good sessions. We will get a very good story. Today, it is perfectly fine if it takes a little bit of time to just kind of get the nuts and bolts sorted out. So I see Alan down there. It's really tiny. There it is, a bigger one. Okay. So
how do I delete the
so
tiny
then
one?
after you create it, click the arrow, the very top little widget in the upper
Yeah.
left, and that'll take you back to be able to select things, and then just select the tiny one and then hit the delete button.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so everybody's got that sorted. So that'll just be, that drawing tool is just something we'll use a lot, whether it's text or just drawing lines or just freehand. We'll be doing a lot of that as we play. So next up, Paul mentioned the zoom slider. It's in the upper right. That's another thing you'll use a lot, depending on the size of your screen, the quality of your eyes. You'll be moving in and out a lot to be able to read things. I've tried to make the cards and stuff, readable as best as I can, but there's going to be a need to move that around. So you just hit the plus or minus. It'll make your screen smaller or larger. And then finally, I see a lot of people that were pinging. So what you do to ping, to draw our attention to a spot on the board, is just hold down your left mouse button anywhere, and it'll create a concentric circle. Each of us has a different colored one. Mine's sort of a light green. Will's is a darker green. Daniel's got sort of an orangey red, and so on. Okay, let's talk about cards. So in Alien World, similar to Zombie World, a lot of what we'll do is cards. We don't use dice, for example. We use cards to resolve things. And if I remember correctly, Daniel and Paul have never played Zombie World. Is that right? And I know Will has. I played it with him, and Alan mentioned one session of it. So let me talk about cards. So on the bottom right of our screen, there's a bunch of decks of cards. So the top one's called Resolution. And then there's NPCs, agenda, background, so on and so forth. First of all, you players are only ever going to use the Resolution deck. Okay, you will never draw any of the other cards, but you will always draw the Resolution deck. We will talk about more of these decks as we go along, but I just want to make sure we understand how to draw a card. So what you do to draw a card is you move everybody do this, move your mouse over to the Resolution deck, and you'll sort of get to it, and it'll sort of move a little bit. It'll sort of rise up, and that means it's ready to draw a card. What you do is you just left click, hold down your left mouse button, and then you can drag the card into the table. I'm going to do one right now. You see the miss card in the middle of the table, right above Will's card. That's kind of like the area that we use in the middle of the table to draw our cards. Everybody just draw a card and try to stack theirs on top of my miss, just to get comfortable with drawing a card. Put your mouse button over the Resolution deck until it moves a little bit. Hold down your left mouse button, drag it onto the table. Try to drag it about where I dropped mine. I see an edge, I see a miss. Anybody have any problem with it? Oops, I see Daniel dragged the Resolution card into his hand. That's another thing you can do. We'll talk about that later, but you can, once it's in your hand, you can click on it, Daniel, and you can pull it then onto the table.
Yeah.
One other, this is a side thing I just thought about. If on Roll20, where it has our names down in the bottom left, if you also have like a picture, you might want to get rid of that just to give yourself more room on the tabletop. So if anybody has that, what you do is you go, it's under settings,
I put
audio.
it in the chat as well.
Okay, you got that sorted? Okay, good. Thank you.
It's in the chat, yeah.
Okay. It's somewhere in there. I always forget where it is. But if you want to get rid of the pictures to give yourself more room, there's a command somewhere. Is it under video display? Yeah, if you go to audio and video and then video display, player video / avatar size change to names only. That's what I always do. Okay, so everybody feel halfway comfortable drawing a card? So then this is our
can I just check in?
Sure.
I can see down the bottom, above Paul, it's got resolution with 2 on it. Is that me or him? Because when I double click, I can see it. Is that me or him?
That is, Paul has dragged 2 resolution cards into his hand, which isn't what we want to do, but we just want to drag it out in the table. But what I'm going to do now, we'll sort that out more as we play. But we'll talk more about the hands as we play. But what Paul can do...
Describing on a Mac, that's not how it appears.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if I go to the deck, to the left of it, it says resolution deck, removed or draw.
Right. We don't want to. You don't want to select any of those options. You just want to left click and hold. And I don't know anything about Mac, so I'm sorry if this doesn't work. But you just want to left click and drag it onto the table.
It's single click to draw. So if you single click it, it'll put it into your hand, and if you hold click down, it'll drag it out onto the table. I believe that's consistent across both Macs and PCs as far as.
But once it's on the table, you can't move it. No.
Oh, you can.
You should be able to.
You can also flip it with right click. You can right click on it to get a little context menu.
True.
Steve Jobs. I mean, you know, if there's anybody who's close to Wayland, right?
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing. Depends on the browser, I think, more than.
Should have got a PC, Paul.
So the only goal you need right now is just to be able to feel that you can drag a card onto the table. That's our goal right now. Don't worry about all the other bibs and bobs. And if it is in your hand, if it ends up in your hand, you can then select it from your hand by clicking on it, and then you should be able to drag it onto the table from there also. So it looks like Paul's been able to move them around. What I'm going to do now, go ahead.
Is anybody else seeing what looks like a copy of the resolution deck image hovering about over the table?
No, I am, Alan.
Yeah, I can't remember. Sorry, I know you told me how to ping, but I've now forgotten how to ping.
Just hold down the left mouse button in the spot you're talking about. No, I don't see that.
I see it. I think it's a card that's flipped on the wrong side.
Oh, somebody might have flipped a card.
When I put a right click on it, I don't get any options other than the usual kind of Chrome one.
Well, here, let me do something. Also, whenever we do a draw, there I see one that someone's flipped a card that has the resolution on the back of it. So I'm gonna recall all these cards.
Great.
Whenever we do a resolution, I'm gonna have to recall and shuffle after it. This is our sort of our dice. So whenever we do a resolution draw, I have to recall and shuffle. So remind me if I forget. Did I take care of it? Did it get rid of whatever artifact you saw, or is it still sitting there?
I'm still seeing it.
That's bizarre. Well,
I mean, as long as I know that everybody else is seeing it, it's not just some aberration.
If the 98% of the time, whenever there's something weird in Roll20, it works to just restart, exit Roll20, and come back in.
Me and Jason can't see it, but apparently the rest of you can. So.
Yeah, I don't see anything. But it is not uncommon, unfortunately, for Roll20 to have some weird artifacts and stuff. So, like I said, yeah, it's a little on the janky side.
Just reloading the page has got me a bit of a look at it.
Yeah, it's probably that's the go-to solution. So, all right, let's move on. So next up, let's talk about the moves. Just to kind of, I'm not going to get into the details of the moves right now. We'll do that on the fly as we play. But I just want to make sure you see where they all are. So if you go to the journal, so in the upper right, there's a bunch of buttons. One of them is for chat. The next one is probably journal for you guys. Open that up, the journal. There's a bunch of handouts here. but there's two folders. There's one called Game Concepts. It says plus Game Concepts, and then it says plus Moves.
It's the third icon on from the left. We all see Art Library still. I think all players still see Art Library. So there's chat,
great.
Art Library, Journal.
There you go. So Journal, open up Journal, and then open up the folder Moves by just clicking on the plus or the move where it says Moves, and it should have 5 pages or handouts inside Moves. And these are the 5 different types of moves. So safety and peril moves, these are our basic moves. There's not, if you actually open up one of the handouts, there's 4 safety moves and there's 6 peril moves. You use safety moves when things are basically safe. You use peril moves when you're in the heat of the moment, when things are dangerous. That's really, where to look. There, like I said, there's not a lot of moves within each of these, but that's where you'll find them. We'll talk more about them as we play. And then there's some very situational specific moves that we will use. These are called Location, Overwhelmed, and Special. And these moves are just used in very specific points in the game. We will talk about them more detail when we get to there, those moments, but that's where you'll find all of that. There is also a handout farther down, just sort of a loose handout. It's not in a folder. It's called Safety. Open that up. This is just a very simple way for us to record our lines and veils. And you guys can go ahead and start thinking about what lines and veils you want to have for this game. You can edit and put those in. The only problem you'll find with this is that I think only one person can edit at a time. So if you go in and you're editing and you're putting in your lines and veils and they don't seem to appear once you leave, you have to go back in after a minute or two. Somebody else was probably editing and they were blocking you, so to speak. So go ahead and think about your lines and veils. As you can do that as we continue. We'll talk more about safety in a few minutes. Any questions so far? Okay, good. Let's go to cats then. So concept, aim, tone, and safety. So concept-wise, this is a collaborative and improvisational game. We're going to work together to build the setting and to build a story. At various points during the game, I will come to you and I will say, hey, what kind of detail do you want to add to this scene? Or tell us a story that tells us more about your character. Anything that you can give is great. Even if you just have a little bit of an idea, that's okay. If you have a real big idea, you can throw that out too. If you have absolutely nothing, that's okay too. You can just say, pass, I have nothing. And we will go on and we'll work together. But anything you can give is great because we're going to try to refer back to all those things, especially after this first session. I'm going to do a lot of work to try to integrate that to create a plot that makes some sense. But so there's a lot of improvisation that's going to happen. This game it works best if you think cinematically. The game is designed structurally to have 3 acts, like a story, like a movie. It's designed to have slow scenes with quicker action scenes sort of following each other. And because it has that 3-act structure, it's designed to have sort of an escalating pace and tension. We'll start out slow, it'll get more and more tense, things will speed up, and that's how the game is designed. As you're trying to frame things and think about things, if you think in terms of a movie, if you think in terms of flashbacks, out of character scenes, helicopter shots, close-ups, all of that sort of cinema language is very appropriate to what we're going to try to do. Aim-wise, we're going to try to tell a story, both, a broader story, but also I hope that each of you has an opportunity to have some sort of character arc. I wouldn't say this is a playtest. I playtested the game quite a bit over the summer, but every time I play it, there are some changes. So there may be some rule changes from session to session. So I will detail those as we play, but I am also open to input and feedback, whether at the end or via Slack, or you can jump in the middle of our session and be like, I don't think this rule works, or I think maybe we should try this. And I'm open to any of that. Tone-wise, you've all played alien-ish games. You're all familiar with the genre, so it's going to be dark and gritty. Tension and foreboding is very fitting for this. It's going to default to sort of an adult content and tone. And as we're painting our scenes and filling our scenes with details, we're going to aim for things to aim towards that low tech retro futurist feel of the alien universe. So as I usually explain when I'm describing this is somehow we have a spacefaring civilization, but we're using 80s level technology. So there we use DOS on our computers, dot matrix printers, transistors, everything's old rundown and big and bulky. Safety wise, first of all, content warnings. It's survival horror, so as you would probably not going to be surprised, there's likely going to be body horror, there's going to be extreme violence, and there's very likely going to be sudden death. Death is part of the genre. Your death might be heroic and meaningful, or it might be sudden and totally meaningless. Those are both on the table. If your character dies, it is very easy to get a new character. We'll just take one of our NPCs, promote them to become a PC. Take a minute or two, deal you some cards, and you'll be right back into the action. It is very likely that there could be drug use, religious extremism, and mental illness in this game. It is very likely that characters might behave badly towards each other. In this game, or in this genre, characters are always tense. They're always on each other's case, whether it's like teasing all the way to flat out player versus player violence. The whole range, the gamut of that sort of conflict between characters is genre appropriate. The game is designed to mitigate that as much as we need to. You can lean into it and you can be the bad guy, or you can choose to opt out and not really get into the treachery and the conflict. It is up to you. It also, we can talk about it. We can sort that out as a table. This is not necessarily a Gauntlet game. We're playing off Gauntlet, off calendar, I guess you could call it. But we are going to use the Gauntlet code of conduct. So we're going to be kind and generous to each other. We're going to respect our lines and veils. If you're not in a scene, but you want to get into a scene, you need to ask for consent from those that are already in the scene. I'm perfectly open to that. I think I like the fluidity of people jumping in and out of scenes, but you need to, jump in and ask permission first. If you're not in a scene, mute, but pay attention. We really need people to pay attention because we need to feed on each other's ideas to make this work. Okay. We're going to use the open door. You can leave for a minute, you can leave for an hour, you can leave for a session, you can leave for the whole thing. It's perfectly fine. If you can come back, that's great. If what you can tell us about whether you can come back or not, when you can come back, that would be great, but it's not necessary. We're going to use the lines and veils. Let's see what we got, if anything, so far. So we have lines on sexual assault. We will have none of that. We have veils on consensual sex and harm to children. So that stuff will be behind a veil. Feel free to add more. I'll come back and check on it, at the breaks and whatnot. And then if all other safety, tools are not working for you and you're not feeling comfortable, you can always X card. Okay. Any questions about all this setup? Okay, cool. Let's talk about the game itself. So in this game, you guys are going to start in a bad situation. And through the course of our story, you're going to try to find some way to escape with your lives. Our game mechanics will provide us, with some stuff that we will use to create our story. But it is there's a lot of freedom as where you go with all of that. Each scenario will have a monster somewhere in the story. It'll be lurking in the dark, and then there will also be what we call non-monster threats. You guys will have an option to sort of create the story through selecting some what we call non-monster threats. These are all the other stuff that are dangerous that are not the monster. Okay. As you guys move from scene to scene and move deeper into the story, I'm going to acquire threat cards. these are the tools that I use to make your life difficult. I use them to trigger attacks. I use them to further the plot, and I can use them to introduce more dangerous monsters. Depending on what kind of story you guys select, the monster might be really weak in the beginning. So in alien terms, if you might only have the face hugger in the beginning of the story. But through time, through these threat cards, I can start to introduce greater and greater levels of monsters, so to speak. As Zombie World and Alien World are PBTA games using cards. So, like any PBTA game, you will trigger moves. We will resolve moves, and that will sort of fuel the story. Let's talk a little bit. I'm not going to go into great detail about the different moves and stuff right now, but let me talk about the basic mechanic of the game. All right. So the basic mechanic is the resolution deck. And we were monkeying with that earlier, but let me drag out. The resolution deck has 11 cards, and there are 4 different cards. Let me see if I can get each of the 4. I got to get one more here. Keep drawing until I get it. There it is. Okay, so on the table above Will's, sort of in between Will and Alan's mats, character mats, there are 4 different cards. There's a miss, an edge, an opportunity, and a triumph. A miss is a miss. It's 6-, okay? An edge is a partial hit. It's a 7 and 9 in PBTA. So it's a hit with a complication. Triumph is a 10+. It's a hit without complication, a clean hit. And then the only wild card is the opportunity. An opportunity is a miss unless you spend stress to turn it into a triumph. Okay? When you get a chance to trigger a move, we'll have a discussion that will determine how many cards you draw on that resolution. And you'll draw anywhere from 1 to 4 cards. So let's say Will is trying to run from the monster. We'll have a discussion that will figure out how many cards Will draws. And let's say we come up with 3. So then what Will do is he'll draw 3 cards from the deck, and then he can select which of the 3 he wants to use to decide what happens. Okay. Almost always, of course, you're going to choose the best card. The opportunity just is the wild card. Like I said, it's the one that gives you a kind of a meaningful choice. Let me recall those and shuffle. Let me talk about that discussion of how you decide how many cards you get. So when we have that discussion, the first thing is you always get 1 card just because. Okay, so you always get 1 card. Then I'll ask you, does your character have an applicable expertise? This is going to be a specified skill or talent or expertise that you're good at. If you can make an argument that your expertise fits for what you're trying to do, then we'll give you a 2nd card. I'm going to be liberal on this. If you can make even a halfway decent argument, I'll give you this card. I'll be easygoing on this one. Then I'll ask you, does your character have the right tool for the job? If you can make an argument that you have a piece of equipment that would be the right tool for this, perfect for this opportunity, then I'll give you a 3rd card. But I'm going to be stingy on this one. So like, for example, if you're shooting an alien drone and you have a pistol, I'm going to say, no, that's not good enough. But if you have a pulse rifle, I'll be like, yeah, that's worthy of this card. This is going to push you to look for good stuff. Looking for stuff, is a part of then that leads to complications, of course, which is all part of the engine that we want to get going. Then I'm going to ask you, do you think your player has significant advantage? Can you make an argument that something we've established would give you an advantage in this moment? If you can say yes, or we agree, then you'll get another card. There are also different moves and different powers that your cards can give you that will give you significant advantage. And then finally, if you don't already have 4 cards, you can push yourself by taking a stress to get an extra card. Okay. At the end of that discussion, you'll have anywhere from 1 to 4 cards. Any questions about that basic mechanic? Okay, great. I think we're ready to start the next part, start creating our scenario. So go to your journal. There's a handout called Haunted Station Setup Orientation. Go ahead and open that up. And what we're going to do is we're going to answer a series of questions to create our station. First of all, let me explain that we are playing in the Alienverse, the classic Alien universe that you see in the movies, the comics, the books, the role-playing games, etc., etc. We are in the year 2180. This is 1 year after the events of Aliens, the second movie, and Alien 3. Okay. There are rumors of quote unquote dragons and space beast out there, but it's not common knowledge. The xenomorphs are not common knowledge. Okay, there's rumors. And sort of a geopolitical level, there are building tensions between the three superpowers. That would be the United Americas, which is the Marines, the colonial Marines are the tool of the United Americas. There's also the Union of Progressive Peoples. This, I don't think they have this in the movies, but a lot of the comics and stuff have the Union of Progressive Peoples. This is sort of a space Soviets, spacefaring civilization that is, think of the Cold War. Remember that the movies came out of that time in our lives when the Cold War was a real deal. And these are, like I said, the space Soviets. I believe they're the Russians, the Germans, the Vietnamese, and there's a few other nations, Venezuela, probably, something like, I forget the others. And then there's the Three World Empire. This is sort of a creation of the alien universe where at some point, the United Kingdom and Japan married their royal families together and meshed their countries together in sort of this monarchist conglomeration. And it's dominated by Weyland-Yutani. Weyland-Yutani is a British and Japanese company that, meshed together. And similarly, their nations themselves mesh together. And Weyland-Yutani is pulling the strings of the whole universe, but especially of the Three World Empire. So those are the three big powers that are increasingly at conflict with each other. So let's go around and let's sort out some questions. So this handout has them in order. The first question is about the power level that you guys want to play. The table decides how strong the characters and the threats are in the story. With all these questions, I'm going to start with one person, let them get their 2 cents out, but then if you have some input, feel free to jump in once they've gotten us started. So I'm just to kind of keep the ball rolling, I'm going to move around the table, and I'll start with Alan. Alan, we have 3 choices for the power level of the game. Do you want to play as a civvy, as a professional, or as an absolute badass?
I'm less interested in absolute badass because I think the whole point about survival horror is you need to find stuff. So if we arrive as a fully equipped set of Marines, for instance, that seems to me to kind of miss out some of that tension of shit, I need a bigger gun. So I would settle for civvies or professionals.
Okay.
I'd go either way depending on the other players.
Okay. Other thoughts from the table?
I'd lean more towards civvies myself.
Will, Daniel, any thoughts?
Civis sounds good.
Yeah, I'm fine with civvies. I will say that being an absolute badass did not help the crew of the Sulaco at all.
No, I mean, you guys are going to, whatever you choose, you're going to be in the shit. So
yeah. But no,
I'd
like to play tests from civvies, I think, from that perspective.
Okay.
Yeah, we may get a chance to see how the my PC's dead, can I have an NPC please works.
Okay, great. And again, you will get that opportunity regardless of which one you choose. But civvies is perfect. It's great. As a side note, I think of the playtest, I think everyone has chosen civvies. One time people played professionals. Nobody has played absolute badasses yet. So I will save that for in the future, but I would like to see at some point. But we will play cities. So what that means is that you are regular folk. You have only commonplace items. So this game uses sort of a Blades in the Dark style equipment idea. So we will go forward. You don't have to declare your equipment. You declare it on the fly. But the parameter that will restrict what you choose for equipment is this, which is that you have only commonplace items. For weapons, you only have a blade or a pistol, or you might have a blade or a pistol at most. For equipment, you have only easily obtained things or things that are germane to your job. And the flip side is that we only have the level 1 monster card on the table at the start. And let me go ahead and get that on the table now before I forget. So I'm going to choose. We will start with just this one. I'll put it sort of up by Daniel's card. Monster. We're playing with the classic xenomorph in our scenario. And we're going to start with just the face hugger. Okay, and it has some details about it that we'll talk about should it enter our story. Let's go on to the next part then of our setup. Moving then over to Paul, let's start talking about the station. The station, it's a huge station, large enough to house several hundred people. It's on the frontier, far from the prying eyes of the authorities. So Paul, it's been here a long time. It's most well known for its original and still primary function. And there's a bunch of bullet points there. Which one are you most interested
in? I quite like either tourism or medical. That would sort of pull in civvies, from a wide gamut of society.
Okay. Tourism or medical is what we got on the table. Any other agreement or disagreement with that?
I like medical.
I love a set of connected medical labs.
Daniel, any ideas?
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm okay with both choices.
All right. So this station is primarily known as a medical station. Great. Moving to Daniel, the next one. It's rumored that it's also being used as and then there's some bullet points there. There's always other at the end. So if you have an idea that's not on the list, it's perfectly open to throw that out too. But we have some options there. Which one do you like, Daniel?
Well, I like a lot of them, but maybe mostly, I think religious sanctuary sounds good.
Okay.
But also maybe whatever is a signals intelligence listening post.
Sort of a secret,
secret
spy post. Yeah.
Yeah, secret outpost.
All right. Anybody want to jump on those or have an alternate idea?
I'll go with the sanctuary.
You like sanctuary?
I was going to say listening post because I like the kind of Cold War implications, but I'm not worried.
Damn it! You made me the tiebreaker, Alan. How good are you? I think the religious sanctuary. I mean, everything's improved by a good cult, isn't it? Frankly, because it's rumored to be that, right? So it's not an openly a religious sanctuary. It's a subterfuge thing.
That's right. Okay, so I think that's what we'll go with. So we have a medical facility that's also rumored to be a religious sanctuary. It lies in this is for Will. It lies in the space of and is nominally under the jurisdiction of. We have 3 superpowers, or you can say no one. It's an unclaimed space.
It's an independent, essentially, like sort of space. It's a frontier space. I think I like it being. I think I like it being an unclaimed space.
Unclaimed space?
Yeah.
All right. Any alternate ideas? Or anybody want to go with that? Okay. So it's unclaimed space. It's not really under anyone's jurisdiction. That can't be bad at all. And flipping back around to Alan, our next question. It's registered to and owned by a government, a corporation, an uber rich person, a collective, a religious institution, or other.
I mean, in keeping with the idea that it's rumored to be a religious sanctuary, I think
Oh, did Alan lock up to you guys?
Yeah.
I think the idea of a religious institution running. Oh, should I try again?
No,
Yeah, just
you
start.
came
I
out.
think-
Yeah, but
Go ahead. Just start over.
Okay. I like the idea that this medical facility is run by a religious institution. That's probably where the rumors of its more overtly religious purpose comes from.
Okay. Any alternate ideas or support for that?
Yeah, I
No.
support it.
I mean, it's the Ice Mendicants, Paul, from Revelation Space.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. Well, I already said it in the
Ruined
chat,
it,
so I
Will,
beat you,
ruined
mate.
it.
I beat you. I
Oh,
beat you
sorry.
already.
Ice Mendicants? I'm not familiar with that. What's that from?
Revelation Space.
I
They're
don't.
basically, when people come out of hibernation sleep, sometimes they have amnesia. The Ice Mendicants help them recover.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
hard science fiction. Alistair Reynolds. It's great. You probably like it.
Okay, I'll check it out. You guys want to go with that idea? Is that what this religious institution's up to? I guess that they bring them out of it with some sort of like faith or spirituality, though. I guess rather than.
Well, let's.
But I guess
finish
there's also medical too. But let's keep
finish the
going.
creation and then go back to this sort of thing.
Okay, yeah, we'll sort out the details. We'll fill it in as we go. Where am I at? Paul. Another faction is hostile to the owner and is always trying to disrupt, spy on, or take over the station. This hostile faction is.
I think a corporation.
Okay. Which corporation do you think it is? And there is a list of corporations on the bottom right of this handout. Weyland-Yutani's at the top of that list, but there are some others, or we can make one up. Who is the corporation and what are they most known for?
I think the Bionational.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds quite good. LaSalle.
LaSalle Bionational. All right, great. And they're a very, they're kind of a what's the word I want? They're sort of a mysterious sort of working under. They have a lot of spies. They're corporate spies. That's sort of their claim to fame. I mean, they have an above the board bio research, arm, but they steal other people's ideas, especially Weyland-Yutani. I think in the genre, I think they're actually founded by an ex Weyland-Yutani executive and scientist. So they're sort of another antagonist in some of the stories. So, anyways, great. And then the hardest question of all was we come to Daniel. The station is called. What's the name of the station? And this is maybe we take a moment here and think a little bit more because this will help guide the name. So we're starting to talk about filling in some of the details. So think for a moment. Like we said, we know quite a bit now, but let's try to flesh out some of it. We don't want to answer all the questions, of course, but we know it's medical. We know that it's rumored to have a religious aspect. It's not owned by or under the jurisdiction of anyone. And it's opposed by LaSalle Bionational. You want to have a cool idea they want to throw out, tie this together.
I mean, I'm up for Hospice Idlewild. Why not?
And again, I don't know what that is. Tell me more what that is.
It's where the Ice Mendicants. It's their station.
Okay. So tell me, the question that comes to mind then, that sounds cool. How does that work then? So we have the station out on the edge of the frontier, and people, it's not, from what you're describing, they come out of cryosleep, they've lost their memories. All right. Cognitively, they're in a bad place. Somehow they're moved to this station and then they revive them somehow, or is that kind of the process?
Yeah, I think they'd probably be dropped off in, they're brought out whenever. Oh, yeah, these people don't know anything. let's ship them off to Hospice Idlewild.
Yeah. So in the fiction of that universe, right? Like the mendicants like buy like people who, you know, like cryo tubes that have been found by people or whatever, right? And people drop them off as like, well, God knows who this passenger was, and we picked them up. But they're here now, and there's a war and everything, right? I imagine in the Alien universe, right? Like we're in that unclaimed sector of space because it's kind of like neutral territory, and that people from different areas can come and drop off. Like, you know, like if Ripley hadn't been taken back to Earth, kind of thing, or you know, like maybe the cryo thing is a big part of the station, but it's not its sole function, right? It's like it's a useful place to go for hospital if you're out here on the frontier, and you know, if that works for everyone, you know, like because like there are similarities in the sense that, you know, the Alien universe has these cryo tubes, right? And you could easily be found on a salvage wreck somewhere, and then traded human trafficked and whatever, right? And then the next thing you know, you've woken up 70 years later on a hospital station being run by a bunch of do-gooders who are like, yeah, so who are you?
So yeah, I'm picturing sort of a charitable organization. I'm actually picturing sort of like a medieval abbey kind of thing, you know, like, you know, these brothers and sisters, you know, take on these lost souls and revive them, and probably, you know, but there's also rumors that maybe their religious aspect is a little more nefarious, or a little more unseemly than maybe they on the surface might seem, right? That brings in that rumor part of it. How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily certain about nefarious, just unknown. It's not obviously religious, because if it was, we'd have chosen a religious thing, rumored to do medical. Right. So it's principally medical services. It's on the frontier, where presumably the only other services are corporate based. It's very expensive to be shipped back to the core for any help. So this is charitable healthcare.
Okay.
But the suggestion is that where people have emotional or mental health issues, there's some kind of faith thing going on. Personally, I don't want to pitch it as an abbey, because that would mean we picked a religious institution as its principal function.
Yeah, and I would say that, like, I think your impression of, you know, when we alluded to the Ice Mendicants before, they're actually not really that religious in that sense. It's a much more crazy world than Alien World is, really. But I kind of imagine like the Red Cross almost.
Yes,
right.
Is essentially
that's the impression.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, a charitable organization funded by probably corporate sponsorship, probably individual philanthropy back from the core. But there's more going on here than meets the eye.
Right. And we don't need to answer this right now, but does anyone have any ideas, even the beginning of an idea of why LaSalle Bionational would be hostile to them?
They have a surprisingly high rate of success with restoring memories from cryotube accidents. Or are they the right memories?
Right. Okay. So yeah, a multi-core could definitely use that information for their own purposes. Great. All right. So next is Will. The station orbits a planet or moon, name it, nothing, it's in deep space, or a black hole or other anomaly.
I am gonna say it's above a moon called God, I'm blanking. Because they're all Greek names, aren't they, in the Alien setting generally?
Or just like initial, you know, acronyms and numbers.
A moon called AC55.
AC55. Yeah. And I realize, gotta go back to Daniel. We did not actually name the station yet. Daniel, all of that conversation, did anything come to mind for a name?
Well, I'm not very good with names, but something with coming out with names on the fly, but yeah, but Alvin wrote Haven Station or some kind of a medical term station or some
Sure.
kind of a
Did you say Haven? Is that the word
Yeah.
you use? Yeah, I like that.
yeah,
You just call it Haven?
Haven Station. That's what
Haven
Alan wrote
Station.
in the chat.
Sure. And by the way, I'm not following the chat because I'm too busy with everything else. So if there's anything that comes up in chat, go ahead and say it if I need to hear it. So
Okay.
but Haven, does that work for everybody? Haven Station circling ACC 55. Okay. Let's take a break. Let's take a 10-minute break. We'll come back and do our characters and then create our characters. Do some character questions that are on this handout and then create our characters, and we will be ready to go.
Yeah,
So let's
just
take
before we
10.
finish,
Go ahead.
maybe the charitable organization that run it is the Haven, right? Like, because if it's Haven Station, it's their station. Just
Sure.
because I think we want to define the organization that runs it as well as the station, right? Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Cool.
See you guys in 10. You guys doing okay so far? Good.
You say you might be going to South Korea, Paul? Well, we're still recording, aren't we? No, let's talk about it.
We'll talk later.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least you didn't say North Korea.
Well, you know, that was a clever subterfuge there.
Yeah, they're listening to us right now, so. All right, everyone's back. Everybody ready to go? Let me add, I just thought of something. Like when I was describing the resolution mechanic, that is under the folder in the journal. There's a folder called Game Concepts. There's a handout called Resolution Mechanic. A lot of this kind of basic stuff that I'll be describing as we go along, there's a handout for it. So and that's one of them right there. So if you didn't follow any of that, you can always go back and read it and set you up.
I hope it's okay, but I added what triumph, opportunity, and edge mean to that as well.
Good. Cool. All right. Let us pick up where we left off then on this haunted station setup and orientation. We've established our station. Let's talk about the characters. Characters. You haven't worked together for too long, but have been together long enough to establish some friendships and rivalries. And I think we're up to Alan. So you guys are civvies power level, so you have some bullet points there. Space truckers, colonists en route, corporate employees, a salvage team, or other.
I'm not desperately keen of colonists because that gives us a load of cryotubes to worry about, and it kind of spreads it too much for me. I'm quite keen on space truckers, or other would be space truckers delivering an injured colleague.
Okay.
Pardon me.
Yeah, the next question will probably get more as to what you guys are up to, so that might be a good place to bring that in. But how do people feel about space truckers? That sounds what Alan's throwing out there. Is that cool?
Yeah, I like space truckers as a when we say space truckers, you're kind of like not the boring, but you know what I mean, like a freebooters almost, like you're doing work for money basically, right? Like you might be taking stuff, you might be taking passengers, you might be doing whatever. Like I don't want us to necessarily be like we're hauling fuel for Weyland-Yutani kind of stuff. But
okay.
No, and now I've skimmed down, I see that the other questions will refine.
Yeah, we'll refine that. But space truckers sounds like that's a good one. All right, let's move to Paul. We're here too. And there's a bunch of bullet points there.
Investigate a strange report.
You like that?
Yeah, sort of gives you a massively easy jumping off point, Jason. So I can't see why I can't play you a good card there.
How about bringing that together with Alan was saying you have a strange report of one of your colleagues, maybe someone you left here?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Let's. So I think Alan was saying dropping somebody off. Let's flick that round to a colleague was left here years ago. We're coming to collect them. Right.
Because I just throw that out there too, because you guys are not investigators. You're space truckers, right? You're just like Joe work guy, and you're like we said, you're coming back to pick up or find out what happened to somebody. Who is that somebody? Let me ask Daniel that one. That's off the handout, but I'm just curious. Who is this person that you're following up on?
The person that we're following up, I don't know, maybe someone who is. So I was a little bit lost. We are looking for someone, or
I think what we have so far is it sounds like a colleague or someone, maybe another shipmate that you had that had a cryo problem. Alan's got an idea.
Yeah, no, I'm wondering whether after we've worked out something of our backgrounds, we might be better placed to narrow down who might be an interesting person one of us knew.
Could I put it out there? Maybe it's the legal owner of our ship. Because that would be why we would be pretty much, no matter what our motivations are, obliged to go back and check on them, because until they, like, if
because at some point they'll be declared dead, won't they, if they don't wake up?
Yeah, see, he's got his scheming face on already.
So what I'm going to do is I just made a note. Who is this person? And we will, I think the idea of coming back to it as we flesh things out better, maybe that will become clear. But all those are good ideas. Let's move to, I think we're to Daniel. We work for ourselves, the ICC, a government, Weyland-Yutani, an other corporation, a collective, other. Who do you guys work for?
I was thinking maybe we work for a government, and maybe the UPP, because that would make us kind of government employees, and the ones that are not maybe the way the communist regimes governments work. You don't work for money, but maybe for for prestige, or there are some other motivations, maybe
service to the
or
state.
Different kind of either service to the state or just getting ahead or finding a better position for oneself, but without the marketing.
You guys want to be space Soviets?
I just don't see space. I don't think the government job gig really lands with the space trucker concept. I feel like that's two mismatched ideas as far in the context of this. Like us going to a station to pick up somebody as a space trucker. Like if we were a government employee, why would they send the space truckers to go pick up a rogue? I just it just doesn't gel.
That's the bit that was not jarring with me, is that if we're in the UPP particularly, why are we using a charitable organization? I can't imagine that the party would be happy with people just being dumped at charitable organizations in independent space.
Yeah. Well, I thought that this could be this is exactly what could be a nice touch to the story. Maybe we don't want to be there in a way, but if you want, we can pick something else. Yeah, maybe another one.
The only thing, my problem with the UPP is that I see command economy whenever I think about it.
Yeah,
and the idea that we have any freedom of where we go, I just feel more constrained, I think, by the UPP.
Well, to muddy the waters, I think the depiction of the people living in the UPP, they're very cynical. I mean, you're not all like marching in step necessarily with the state, right? Like I think you
you do your job. Yeah, well, we could if you find it, we can pick something else.
Well, let's throw out an alternate idea. Anybody have a different idea how to go with this one? We work for.
Because I love the idea that this is all about who inherits the ship. I love the idea we work for ourselves, or nobody. We work for a guy in a coma.
Okay.
Because I mean, the way that a lot of the alien world is portrayed, right, is that like essentially ships and things are like outsourced, contracted, right? Like you might lease your ship from a company, you might be employed by a company and they're leasing you. Not all that much comes under the government's, in like the roughnecks on the ground kind of thing, right? I'm still paying my debt off to Weyland-Yutani until I can get my ship back, god damn it, but they keep hitting me with those docking fees and I can't get over it. So I like the idea of us being for ourselves and it tying in with that, like the legal owner of the ship. So we're still running contracts under their like commercial entity or whatever, right?
To pay for the extra treatment. What's this extra treatment? The guy's in a coma.
You can see which challenge is going to take.
Yeah. So the ship is owned by the currently unnamed, although it seems like the front runner is Cream Wilson. Owned by this person, and if you can get them to sign off or they die or something, then maybe you guys will be inheriting the ship, or one of you will. All right, Does that sound like our kind of a front runner of what we got going so far? Okay. Great. I think that's it for that part. So let's go to, I have a corporation list, but then below that it says non-monster threats. So for this part, go back to the tabletop, and in the very middle of the tabletop, there's a whole bunch of cards. And there's a group of them ringed with green, and there's a group of them ringed with red. Things like flooded sections, survivors, soldiers, etc. These are our non-monster threats. And what we're going to do is we're going to select which of these we want to play with. We're going to go around the table twice, serpentine. So we'll go around one way and then we'll come back the other way. And each of you is going to select one green one and one red one. The green ones, I think I call our environmental threats, and the red ones are sentient or mobile threats, okay? So each of you is going to select a green one and a red one in whatever order you like, and then we'll get rid of the rest, okay? So these are going to be our non-monster threats. So let me start again with Alan. Alan, would you like to select a green threat or a red threat, and which one?
Oh, I want cultists.
Cultists. All right, so I'm going to drag that sort of up by our facehugger card just to show that we selected that one. So Alan has his red one. Let's go to Paul. Would you like to select? Which one would you like to select?
I'm going to go with abominations, monstrosities.
All right. And Daniel?
I'm going to go with 0G sections.
Okay. Will?
I am gonna go with. We've got two, so we're each choosing a red one and each choosing a green one. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right.
Okay, then I will go for
Oh,
a green one. I'll carry on with the red one just to get them out of the way. I think we're going to go with synthetics.
Synthetics. I thought you
Yeah.
might choose that.
I mean,
right.
the Working Joes, right, are amazing, like bad
Creepy.
guys. I need to see a Working Joe in this.
Okay. All right. And then we're doing serpentine, so we'll pick up with you again, Will. So which green one do you want?
Now, are you in space if there's not a vacuum or hull breach? I think not.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Okay.
people will be able to hear you scream.
Let's see, where is that one? Oh, you dragged it up. Okay, great. Daniel, let's see. You picked a green one, so pick a red one.
so I pick a red one now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the dangerous animals.
Dangerous animals. Okay. And Paul, you picked a red one, so pick a green one.
Radiation.
Radiation. And then finally, Alan, same deal. You picked a red one, so pick a green one.
Hi, Dave. My name's Hal. I'd like to go with an advanced AI, please.
All right, great. All right, so I got those all there. Let me get rid of the remaining ones. We're just going to remove them.
Yeah,
Okay.
the therapeutic petting zoo at this place is got to be seen to be believed.
Mm-hmm. I've got some ideas already spitting about how we'll get that in, but we'll see how that goes. All right, so now we are ready to create our characters. So there's a handout called Character Creation down at the bottom of your list on your journal. And the first thing that we do is, so several of you guys have never played Zombie World, so let me describe how this works. You're gonna have identity cards. You're gonna have 3 cards that help establish your identity of who you are, and they are fairly broad, so you definitely can flesh them out and spin them in a lot of different directions, I hope. But these 3 identity cards, the first one you're gonna get is called Role. This is going to be face up. Everybody's going to know this about you. This will just establish your role on your ship. And then you're going to get dealt a background card and an agenda card. These are going to be face down. These are going to be hidden to everyone else. They are not known until you decide to flip that card over and expose that part of your background or your agenda to the others. Once it's flipped over, then everyone knows that about you. There's no secret anymore. But the powers and the effects that that card has they aren't functional until it's flipped over. You might go the whole game without ever flipping over your background or agenda cards, in which case they never become true. That is perfectly fine. It is totally up to you when and if you want to flip over your background or agenda cards. And let's kind of flesh that out and get into that. So the first one we
just to clarify that one, Jason, I think your background and agenda cards can only be flipped in the context that they outline on the card, right? If it's
That's right. The first sentence of each of those cards will say something like, "Reveal this card when you X." So you have to say or do something to be able to flip it.
Yeah, so I was like a coward, and I had to run away from something to reveal the fact that I was a coward, basically.
Exactly. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is going back to the character creation handout. It says each player chooses a role for their character. They place this card face up on the tabletop by the designated spot on their character sheet. So you see on your character mat in the upper left, it says role. You're going to drag the card that you want to have as your role to that spot. So the role cards are the 10 pictures in the upper right of our screen, middle to the right side on the top. So these are Khatri, the medic, the Comtech, the et cetera, the investigator. There's 10 people on your spaceship, and you guys get to choose which of the 10 you're going to be. So go ahead and think about who you want to be. Throw out those ideas. Make sure there's no conflict, and figure out which of the 10 you're going to be. And when you're ready and you decided, and everyone's okay with it, drag that card to the spot that says roll right on your player mat.
I'm very much struggling not to be drawn by the picture rather than the description underneath it.
Yeah, and the picture is only if they're NPCs or you like the picture.
Yeah.
You can you can use whatever image you like. And also, by the way, that's a good point. Let me explain a little better what you're reading here. So each of the roles has a name of their role, and then it says plus something else. The name of the role name and the two pluses, those are your expertise. So let's say I choose to be the corporate rep. When it gets to the point where I'm doing something and Jason says to you, do you have an expertise that fits here? That's what you're drawing from. So I would draw from corporate rep and plus athletic and ruthless. Those are my expertise that the role gives me. Okay. Your other cards will probably give you other roles. But like I said, those won't be true until they're flipped over. So in the beginning, those are your three expertise, the name of the card and the two pluses. Then it has in parentheses, NPC, a name, and then it's like some personality stuff. That's only if they're an NPC. So that's just to help me, because the 6 people that you don't select are going to be my NPCs that are on your ship with you. Okay. Anybody have a preference for one of the 10?
I'll go with scientist. If anybody disagrees.
Anybody else want to be the scientist? All right.
Yeah.
So Paul, what you do is drag that scientist card to your mat where it says roll and just kind of slap it there. I think you're down in the bottom left. There you go. Is it hard to do with your Mac, Paul, or?
No, I've got it there now.
You got it. Perfect.
I would like to be like someone fairly blue collary, I think. So I think I'm looking at like the medic, the comtech, the mechanic, that kind of thing. Maybe the quartermaster, depending on if anyone feels it. So I'll probably go with the medic. You know what? I'm going to go with the medic. If nobody else opposes that.
Okay. Anybody else want to be a medic? No. All right. That's you.
Oh, I was the medic last time, wasn't I?
You are always. You're always
yeah.
You were a medic when we played Fallout last month.
Oh God, yeah, I was. Well, I'm the support class, obviously. I'm always dishing out the buffs.
Yep, you got the drugs.
Do you mind if rather than take that, I just write medic, adaptable, and fit in my role?
Drag the card over to it's
Just get it out of the way.
It's just a habit there, yeah. But
Okay.
yeah, you can do that too.
I just don't want to be looking at Charles Dance's face for very long,
Sure.
because it'll
All
just bleed into everything.
Well, what you guys can do is you can go on the internet, find an image, put the link into the Roll20 chat, and then I can create a token to then put in the image part of your character mat. So, or you can just write in what you think your character looks like in the image part of your character mat.
I've just put a link to the Pinterest board that I have for Alien Dark, if anybody wants to kind of start from there. But anyway, I'm interested in corporate rep or quartermaster.
Okay. Daniel, have your eye on either of those?
I have my eye on security. So
okay. All right,
I think
Alan, go ahead and take
see.
security and take
Quick
corporate
question,
rep.
Alan. Corporate rep. I didn't really think we were working for a corporation.
I think what I'm thinking here is, somebody on the crew has to understand the law. It's about corporate expertise, not being a rep. Do you see what I mean?
Maybe you have all the paperwork they need to sign to take ownership or something.
I'm the team's rep. I'm the crew's rep. We are the corporation. Yeah.
Or you could be like a passenger of some sort. Same with the scientist. Like you might not think like a scientist would be on a space trucker ship. So you can come up with whatever backstory you want that, validates your place on the ship.
They had a chief science officer on the Nostromo.
It's true.
Yeah.
I think usually they just have like a medic. I think he had a double role, right? Ash,
Yeah.
It was like they got rid of their other science officer. So yeah, they probably have a science officer. So yeah, it's certainly explainable. We'll have a chance to kind of flesh that out here in a minute. So that leaves the remaining 6 people on your ship as NPCs. So we have a contact guy named Khatri. We have an investigator named Glover. We have a quartermaster named Stans, a pilot named Styles, a leader named Falade, and a mechanic named Hawks. Let me ask Paul. I forget where we left off on going around, but let me go with Paul. Paul, is Falade the I guess we've already kind of fleshed this out. I think Falade must be like the first officer. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
He's sort of the leader of the 10 of you. And the actual owner or captain of the ship, obviously you're coming here to the station to talk to or whatever. So I kind of answered my own question, I guess. All right, so let's see. We all have a role. Now what you can do, I'm going to deal to you your 2 background and 2 agenda cards. These are going to appear in your hand down at the bottom. And then what you can do when things are in your hand, you can just click on them. It'll blow up, and then only you can see it. And then you can read them, because what you're going to do, I'm going to give you 2 background and 2 agendas. You're going to select one of each that you want to keep. And you're going to drag those onto the table to the spot where it says background and the spot that says agenda, and leave the other 2 in your hand. And when everyone's done, I'm going to recall the ones that are in the hand, because we won't use those. You're only going to use 1 background and 1 agenda. Let me throw a background and agenda on the table to kind of show you how these work, okay? Let me get this out of the way. All right, so there's a background deck and an agenda deck. I'm just going to deal one of each. So let me do the background first. I'm going to drag one on the table, flip it over. All right, so in the middle of our table, you should see a card. It has sort of a gray background. The background cards all have this gray background. So there's a name of the card. This one is Prophet, and it says plus charm. So like I was saying earlier, once you flip this card over, now you have 2 more expertise. You have Prophet as an expertise, and you have charm as an expertise. Then it says, like Will was referring to, reveal this card when you describe how your church was oppressed by the authorities leading to your exile. So you would have to do that prior to being able to flip this card. Then it has some questions. What's the primary tenet of your faith? So each card will have some details. It'll give you some sort of powers. It might give you ways of reducing your stress. So this one says you can reduce your stress by 1 if you hint at unseemly practices of your church. And then it says, if another PC agrees to be your disciple, you draw an extra card when you help or hinder them. So each of these cards has certain things that they let you do. So that's the background. Let me recall that and shuffle it. Then there's the agendas. The agendas are going to be more heavy hitting. They're probably going to create a lot of turmoil within the group, maybe some conflict. So usually you want to wait until late in the game to flip an agenda card because they're going to create tension. They might even isolate you from the others. So not all of them, but a lot of them do. So let's look at an agenda. So an agenda card has this sort of green background. Similarly, it has a name. It has some skills that it gives you. This is the one that Will wants. Artificial person, plus strong, plus fast, plus hardy. So this one gives you 4 expertise. It has a quote from one of the movies. It tells you what you have to do to reveal it. Then it has various powers it gives you, various things that it can do for or against you. And then at the very bottom of the agenda cards, it has a win condition. This one is you win if you follow your prime directive until its logical conclusion. There is no winner, but this just gives you that strong drive. What this agenda wants you to do. If you follow that, you can't go wrong. All right. Any questions about the background or agendas before I deal them out to you? All right. So I'm going to deal. They're going to appear in your hand. Like I said, go ahead and read them. Figure out which one of each of them you want to keep. Drag it on the table.
Yeah. And just to clarify, in Roll20, anything that's in your hand is invisible to everybody else, apart from Jason, I believe. I think Jason can see.
Not even I can look at them.
Not even, and that's the design flaw, I think. I think the GM should always be able to see them.
I disagree. I like that the GM doesn't know either. I like the surprise also. And I don't need to know. It doesn't really, usually they don't really.
Maybe if it was an option, you know? Like, 'cause then you could help people with the things. You know?
I think it works well as long as I give you the opportunities to shape the story in the way that your hidden cards need, you know, and I'll try my best to do that. So no, I like the fact that I'm not but yes, you're right. No one else can see these cards until they're flipped over.
Yeah. So one thing to be careful of is accidentally dealing your card out to the table.
That's right.
Basically.
And you don't want to never tell us what they are until you flip it. Like all right, so let me throw these out there. So here's first your agendas or backgrounds. Go ahead and take a look at those, and let me give you the agendas. Okay. If you hate the ones you got, I'm happy to give you some others.
To be clear, we choose one of each.
One of each. One of each. Drag the one you want onto the table, onto your mat, next to where your roll card is. There's a spot for background and there's a spot for agenda.
And I'm assuming there are no duplicates in the.
There are no duplicates.
Okay.
Nope.
Jason, sorry, you have to refresh me. Once we drag them out to the table,
they will appear face down.
Yeah, but will we then be able to view them without flipping them over?
Yes, there are 2 ways of doing so. You can drag them back down to your hand, drag the card over your name and let it go. It should, like, your name will light up and then let it go at that point and it'll pop back in your hand. Or you can go to Game Concepts folder. There is a handout for agendas. There's a handout for backgrounds that lists them all alphabetical order.
Cool. I just don't want to accidentally reveal it while I'm trying to work out remember what it is that my conditions are.
That's right. Everybody asks the same thing when I play this.
So we just drag them and they are face down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. When you pull it on the table, it'll be face down, and that's how you want them to be.
Okay.
As we play, you certainly can put out some hints, but those hints can be false. They can be lies. They can be red herrings. They could be whatever hints you throw out could kind of get people to start thinking, hey, I wonder if he has this background card. Or they could just be, sending us in the wrong direction. That's perfectly fine. I see Daniel's got his background out there. I see someone's got a background. Is that yours, Alan? Sitting by,
yeah. That's the one I don't want.
That's the one you don't want. Leave that one in your hand.
Oh, I see. Sorry.
Yeah, the one you don't want leaving your hand. It's important just because when I recall, I can recall just the ones in your hand.
Sorry.
The best way of doing this, I'm glad this came up. Just right-click the card. Right-click the card.
Yeah.
And there's an option that says "Take card." It'll pop it right back to your hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
that's good.
so the one that we want. Okay, you want
the one you want pull onto the table.
Okay, I'm with you. There she blows.
If you finish this part as the others are thinking, you can start to give yourself a name, a character name. You can start thinking of your image of your character. Start thinking of just kind of like some broad background ideas. Actually, the way I'm going to phrase it is, what do people know about you on the ship? Like I said, you guys have been together long enough. You don't know each other that well, but you have established some sort of rivalries or friendships. But I'm going to be asking you in a minute, what did the others know about you? I see someone's got a background card right in the middle of the table. I'm guessing that maybe that's Paul's.
Yeah.
If you need me to drag a card for you, feel free to ask.
I want to keep, the one on the table.
The one you on the table is the one you want to keep? Yeah. But you want to drag that to your character mat.
Yeah.
Okay.
The longest part. Oh, there, I see Noah. Right in the middle of the Alien Dark Pinterest board.
Perfect. So, and when if you just copy the link for that image and you put it in the Roll20 chat, I can create a token to put on the board for you. I don't know. I don't think players, can you create tokens? I think only the GM can, as far as I recall. Can you create a token?
No, I can't drag any of my existing images onto the... I've just tried to drag Strahd from Curse of Strahd onto the table, and it's just not done anything.
Okay. Yeah, I think...
Sadly, I'm not going to be an immortal vampire in Ravenloft. Who knew? I was very tempted to go with the Noah picture again, just to keep you guessing, right? Like, maybe I got the synth cards, and it's just another version of Noah from the previous one, but that'd be far too self-indulgent.
I went ahead and dragged your background to the spot. Okay, Paul. Is that your agenda that's out in the middle now, too? I think so. Everybody else, I think everybody else has got theirs.
I can't select it. I'm just getting some sort of box on the screen.
All right, I got it. I moved it to where it needs to be. Okay, now does everybody have the ones that they want?
Yeah.
Okay. Paul, you comfortable with your choices?
Yep.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to recall the ones in your hand now and get them out of the way. Make sure I do this right. Let's see. Recall. In hands. Good. Backgrounds. Recall. In player hands. Good. All right. So going back to the character creation handout. Next up. The player introduces or name their PC and assign pronouns, find an image, let them know if they start with any gear. You don't start with any gear. We already know kind of the parameters of your gear. You can always go back to the Haunted Station handout to get a better idea of what it means to be civvies. But like we said, you don't have a whole lot. You just have things that be appropriate to your job, things you might find on your ship. Then we're going to go around. Players introduce their characters to the table. They should mention what the others would know about them and might hint at their background or agenda, but should not explicitly say what they are. Red herrings, false hints, and flat-out lies are very welcome. Anybody have a intro for their character, what the others would know? Anybody want to start us up? Will has a name. You want to start, Will?
Yeah, just wanted to quickly ask, where did you want us to put the links for the image?
In the Roll20 chat.
Okay.
There's the very, there you go.
Yeah, there we go. Just because, we've got 3 different chat things, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. There's the image.
Perfect.
I didn't realize that Roll20 was clever enough to show the image when you immediately posted it an image link.
So when you're ready, tell us about Lee Donnelly.
So Lee Donnelly is the ship's medic. she's got a good bedside manner. She's always got like a smile for people. She's quite personable. She's been with the ship for a while. I think that she's she's worked in a variety of like medical jobs. She's not what you would call like a doctor or a specialist in anything. She's more I think like a general member of crew who has medical experience rather than like a dedicated doctor, if that makes sense. That's more how I imagine her. Helps out, moves cargo, etc. But she's the one who will bandage you up, patch you up, get you through the dock systems and everything, through the 80s style. And yeah, she's from, I think, from the United Americas originally.
Okay.
Perhaps a colonist rather than an Earth citizen who has traveled extensively from her home colony, which is nowhere of particular importance.
Okay.
Probably like a medium-sized place, like not like a Hadley's Hope frontier place, but a fairly established kind of place, probably in the core systems.
Okay. All right. So that's what everybody knows about. Is it her? Is it she, her? Did I get
Yeah,
that right?
she, her. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
In fact, I'll change the Lee to a Moff. Could be like Leigh Donnelly.
Whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
And just as a side note, I see Daniel will put pictures in. Could you put? I'm not sure if you maybe it already converted it, but if you can put the link in, I think that works better rather than
that's what we put in though. We copy and paste the link, it automatically does it. So
all right.
If you copy the image link, it has created its own store of that in Roll20, so you can get it much the same way there.
Right.
If you
I tried to upload it though, and it's not
allowing it because it's probably
certain formats it doesn't like. So we'll come back to it. I'll
tell you what.
I'll monkey with it on the break.
I'll drop it in the chat on Slack.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, you can do that. Sure.
Because as long as you've got it right, like it's there.
Yeah, I'll monkey with it, like I said, on the break or between sessions. But let's not worry about that right now. Let's move to Paul. Do you have an idea for Celestine?
Yeah, Celestine. She is a scientist on the ship, and she has cybernetic eyes or a cybernetic vision device.
Okay. What's any personality characteristic that stands out that people notice when they meet her?
Yeah, she's got a cybernetic vision device.
Sure. Okay. All right. Perfect. Let's see. Daniel, how about Roy Franklin?
Okay, so I'm not sure yet exactly what security would mean, but I'm thinking some kind of he's a person with a weapon, of course, with a pistol maybe, but also someone who deals in counterintelligence, because we are having we are space truckers, but we can be a target of some kind of spying or takeovers or everything. So
there are pirates and things as well.
So Franklin is the one who takes care of that not happening.
Right.
The way obviously my initial thought on a security officer for a group of space truckers is the guy who's in charge of making sure that no one's stealing anything and that the ship isn't compromised when we land places, because like we could be on some really lawless kind of colonies, places.
Yeah, sure. That too.
Yeah. Similarly, did the others notice anything about your personality? Anything stand out?
I think I'm not sure, but I think Franklin is not the one who is revealing too much about himself, and also he's a person who is not very trusting of the others, or appears not to be very trusting of anyone.
Okay. All right, that's enough to work with. And then Alan, tell us about Amos Ames.
Amos. Yeah, I've put two pictures in the chat. It's the lower one I'm interested in. I found him after I found the first one. So Amos is, by the look of it, significantly older than everybody else, and he's world weary. I think is probably the way that he comes across. And yeah, we all do everything. Because it's that kind of crew. But yeah, he's the guy who understands the paperwork. He's the purser. He's the accountant. He makes sure that the spreadsheet that has our supplies is reasonably complete most of the time.
Mm-hmm. And you like the idea I had that he's got like a big sheaf of papers of all about the transfer of the ship from person to person?
Absolutely. He's the one who understands that paperwork.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is it, this is for the whole table, is it known who is going to be getting the ship if the captain has died or is incapable of, like, is there one of the 10 of you that has been established that's going to be the new boss? Or is that sort of up in the air?
That's the problem with this is that the paperwork is not entirely clear and it's quite vague, and it would very much, it could rely on a judge to make a decision in the event of.
Okay.
Right. Paragraph 83A321 is a
open
bit
to
of a
interpretation, isn't it? Really, I mean, particularly when you contrast it with our obligations under Section 54C9, right? Like,
I'd explain it to you, but we don't have, we'll all be dead before we get to the bottom of it.
I quite like that it being like a question of potential legal mess. Like there's a reason that we would be quite motivated to keep this captain alive in the first place, right? To have delivered them here rather than like whatever. I like the idea of this was Captain Wilson's ship. He owns it. He's been left on this station to recuperate. The legal question of what happens later could be contested by various parties, perhaps including ourselves or whatever, right? Like ultimately, who knows,
Right. And the station is outside any recognized jurisdiction, so it's made it even more complicated. And are we going with Cream Wilson? Is that the captain? The person? Okay. All right, great.
I will be referring to him almost exclusively as Captain Wilson, I think.
All right. Great. I think our characters are ready. Our setting is ready. Let me see if there's anything I'm forgetting. Oh, yes. I start with one threat card. Let me deal that to myself. We begin the story in Act 1. So I get one threat card at the beginning of Act 1, and each time that I would select a threat card, I will get one. When we go to Act 2, I will deal myself 2 threat cards, and every time I get a threat card, I get 2, and you can guess what happens in Act 3. So let me see what I got. All right, perfect. And I think we're ready. So we go to a break. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back and we'll play for an hour, and then we'll pick up with session 2. So I'll see you in 5.
Cybernetic eyes. 80s style cybernetic eyes. You're muted.
I didn't put them there. It was on
No, I
the.
know. No, I know. Yeah. It's wondering what they might look like. Cybernetic eyes.
In the picture,
well-
it sort of looks like a set of goggles.
Yeah.
You could
All
always go
right.
with the ones out of the first June film. I always thought those were quite good, with a guy with the sewn up eyes with the little sticks coming out. Good bit of body horror.
Given that the budget for special effects in those early Aliens films is not enormous once you get past the alien itself, they look like ordinary eyes, but with a very funny color.
Right. All right. So let us get started. There is a handout called Haunted Station Starting Scene. It's the very last one on the list. After a long journey, the PCs are revived from cryo sleep. They recover with some bad coffee and cornbread and gear up. Reaching the station, they tried to hail but got nothing but static. They park their ship close to the station and decide to send a party across in the ship's shuttle. We begin with the boarding party slowly approaching the station. The landing bay doors should open automatically, but they aren't responding. You are trying to hack the system to get them to open. We have some more questions. Let me start with Alan again. Another difficult question. What's the name of your ship?
You can't throw that at that needs at least a week's notice. What about somebody? I tell you what. Let's
Come
narrow
back to
it
you?
down. Yeah. Well, name a piece of geography. Somebody.
Gibraltar.
Gibraltar. Oh, I like Gibraltar. An isle alone. Yeah.
Okay. The USCSC, I think is what they call them, Gibraltar. Although, well, anyways, the Gibraltar. Perfect. Paul, as I mentioned, you guys are flying across from your ship to the station in a shuttle. What's the basic design and look of the shuttle? You don't need details, just like if we see it on screen, what does it look like? Just the rough appearance of it.
Non-aerodynamic sort of cube.
Okay, perfect. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go around and place you guys in the shuttle as we start our movie. You have 4 choices. You can be the person up in the cockpit, either driving or just supervising or looking out the window, whatever, however you want to phrase it. You could be the person at the computer station, again, either hacking or looking around or helping or whatever. You could be in the cabin, just sitting there. You're going to be the person who's thinking about someone you left behind on the ship. Or you could be moving about inside, stowing gear, checking on things, that kind of thing. So moving to Daniel then. Daniel, do you want to, where do we find, and I start using your names. Where do we find Roy Franklin?
Well, I think Franklin is in the cockpit, looking through the window to see what to get the first look at what we're approaching.
Okay. And where do we find, is it Leah or Lay? Leah? It must be Leah. Is that right, Will?
No, it's Lay.
Lay? Okay.
Yeah.
Lay. Where do we find Lay?
Lay is I think that I'm in the cabin.
Okay. So you're strapped in. We'll check in with you in a moment. Where do we find Amos? Amos?
Amos. And I think he is strapped in the passenger compartment, going through a big file of papers. while he tells Lee to make sure that that gear over there is secure.
Okay.
Because I think Lee did tell us, didn't you, Will, that you know, medical bracket, dog's body bracket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll say we'll probably be the quote unquote moving about stolen gear, but you're not moving about. You're just looking through your papers, telling Lee,
Telling
no,
Lee to
Leia.
move about.
Leia. Do I get it right?
Let's just go with Lee. I'll just
No, we should go.
No, seriously,
I'll get
let's
it.
just go with Lee
Okay.
because you could pronounce that name both ways. To be perfectly
Yeah.
honest with you.
All right.
You know?
That I guess leaves us. Is that everybody? Yeah. All right. So you're traveling across, you know, doing your thing, and it was Roy that was in the cockpit. So Roy, you're up front with the pilot, who is Styles, and Styles is doing the commands. You know, he's slowly moving the ship there. He kind of yells back. He's kind of talking himself through it. He's like, okay, we got to hit the thrusters. You know, we got to be careful. You know, there's going to be doesn't seem like the station has inertial dampers going, so we got to be careful here. He's kind of talking as he does all of his piloting stuff. And he looks back to it was Celestine that was checking out, or at the computer station. Do I have that right, Paul?
Yep.
And are you the one that's sort of trying to hack into the landing bay doors to get them to open, or are you helping someone else do it?
It would be a bad choice if you picked me to hack the computer doors, but do we have anybody that can do it?
Yeah, if we look up at our remaining NPCs, and the other 6 people are with you here, so probably the obvious choice would be the Comtech specialist, Katri.
Yeah, I'm Assistant Katri.
Okay, so Katri's typing away at this, and if we look at what it says here for the computer station, the station's code, he's saying, oh, this is a total mess. And you see the DOS screen with all of the code, it flies by. And I don't know if you would even know, but he definitely is able to say that this is a mess. It looks like things have been cut out, replaced with just random gobbledygook. And you're looking over his shoulder, and you see something in the code that makes your blood run cold. What do you see in the code that's scary?
The word Windows.
All right. Why would that be scary in the situation?
Because it's bound to fail.
Okay.
It's got a long history going back nearly a century of being dog chaff.
Okay. All right. So this station apparently is running with some faulty software. Good. Then the camera moves to Lee sitting strapped in, and it says here, who is the important person you left behind on the ship? There's someone else, at least one other person back on the ship. And then tell us a story that shows us something about your relationship with this person. Think about that for a second. Let me explain. This is another mechanic that we'll have quite a bit in this game. There's a handout under game concepts called stories. This is an idea I stole from Escape from Dino Island. So at various points in the game, the PCs will be prompted to tell a story. There's a whole bunch of stuff here, but basically the short version of this is that this is your opportunity to share something with us that develops your character. And it can come in the phrase, it could just be a short little quip, a short little statement you get like in an action film. It could be a conversation you're having with someone you can role play out. It could be a flashback of something, we have a short flashback scene. So coming back to Will then, so who is it that you care about that you left behind in the station, and tell us a story that shows about your relationship with that person.
I think that Stans, the quartermaster, is back on the ship.
Okay.
He's one of the crew that didn't come over with us on this journey.
Okay.
There's 10 of us, right? It would make sense to me that there's at least one member of our team back on the ship.
Okay.
And I think that Lee is looking down at the tattoo that Stans gave her. and I think the tattoo is of I think it's of a star with 3 circles around it, and that is from Stans was an ex-Marine and basically served in a campaign in the Tri-Planet system, which was one of the the flashpoints during the last tensions between the UPP and the UAs.
Did you say Lee was or Stans was?
No, Stans was. I think that
Okay.
he's he gives that to people who are in his squad, right? Like basically.
Okay.
Because like he was part of the Marines, she but she's just his friend kind of thing, and like this is the new squad together kind of thing,
Okay. Perfect. I like it. And then the camera comes to Amos, and you're sitting and looking at your papers. Tell us a story through your chit chat with the rest of the crew. What is something we learn about you through what you're saying to the others? You started to touch on some of that.
Yeah, exactly. I think that Amos thinks that he is the logical person to be in charge. And we've seen him, ordering Lee to just check on, that stuff that's strapped down up there. I saw it move when under thrust. I think there is that kind of, I'm the oldest person, I'm the wisest person. Who else are you going to listen to?
Mm-hmm.
I can make this business work. Whereas, the XO, she's just too, I don't know, patient, too easygoing. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And I'd even like to have a flashback of just before we left, of an argument with. Can I leave the XO aboard the ship, or do I have to bring everybody else with us?
No, I like. I mean, we already threw Stans back on the ship, so sure, why not? You want to put Falade back on the ship?
Yeah, and it's an argument about who's best suited, her or me, to go and have the conversation on the station, and it's obviously me. Do you understand this?
Yeah, yeah. Look, Amos. I heard you. I heard you when you were arguing about it with Faladi, right? That was the worst wake up from cryo sleep ever. Okay, like listening to you talk about legal everything. I didn't even have my coffee yet, man.
Everything is legal, Lee. Everything is bound by the paperwork.
This one or this one?
And in the flashback, Faladi's like, fine. Look, do what you want. Look, Stans and I have to stay behind anyways. The computer's all fucked up. We got to reboot the whole thing and change, fix some code. So yeah, you go. You're the leader. She says loudly to the rest. Amos is in control. Follow his orders as usual. Okay. So just be safe. Back in the present then. So let's see how Khatri is doing at dealing with this code. So I believe that was Celestine was looking over his shoulder. So Paul, we're going to trigger a move here. This is a move under special moves. In the move folder, there's a special move called NPCs Do Their Thing. When a PC triggers a move while being assisted by or assisting an NPC, they draw the cards, but may use the NPC's expertise to help. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to run through that conversation to figure out how many cards you get helping Khatri try to sort out this code. So you get 1 card for nothing, for free. Then, do you or Khatri have an expertise that would apply in this situation?
Khatri has, yes.
Yeah. So Khatri has Comtech, which definitely would fit here. So that's up to 2 cards. Do you have the right tool for the job? Is there anything that you guys have that would be the perfect tool to help with what you're trying to do here? And again, you're trying to fix this code to get these landing bay doors to open as your ship approaches. And again, this is Blades in the Dark type style gear, so you can create things as long as it fits our parameters. Do you think you or he have anything?
Yeah, well, he sat at a computer.
Right. I would say this is where the implication, you have your civvies. So you have a pretty simple computer system. You have a pretty simple ship. It's a tool that allows for this, but it's not going to be the right tool for the job. So I'm going to say no to that. Is there anything we've established that would give you significant advantage at what you're trying to do?
Nope.
I don't think so, no. And then finally, do you want to push yourself, take a stress to get a third card?
Nope.
Okay, let me talk about stress briefly too, and there's a handout for this also. In the bottom left of each of your player mats, there's 5 boxes, 5 red boxes, and on the table there's all these red X's you probably have seen. That's what you use to mark in stress as you accumulate stress. When you get to 5 stress, you're overwhelmed. And that means there's a lot of things you can't do, and you must take the overwhelmed move as soon as possible to try to reduce your stress. If you delay, whether voluntarily or involuntarily, to reduce your stress, I will take control of your character and make you do something stupid. So you can also trigger the overwhelm move before you get to 5 stress, sort of as a precaution. But once you get to 5, like I said, you're overwhelmed. So that's sort of the danger point. There are also lots of other ways to reduce or increase your stress, but for now, that's will get us going. So I believe we ended up with 2 cards then. Am I right?
Yep.
So Paul, what you're going to do is you're going to pull 2 resolution cards out onto the table. Two misses. Now, anyone who can make an argument that they can help could also at any point trigger the help move. You just kind of describe how you're helping. You take a stress, and then you can draw 1 card for each of their identity cards that they have flipped over. So right now, all of you guys have just 1 identity card flipped over. So if you wanted to help or hinder, you could announce that, describe how you're helping, and then add in a card. Does anybody want to try to help him try to get this code sorted?
Yeah.
That's with using. You could do it by revealing a background card. Is that what you say?
No, you don't have to reveal a card at all. It's just that if the person you're helping has more cards exposed, you get an extra. You get to draw 1 card for each identity card that they have face up. So right now, all of you just have 1 face card or 1 identity card face up. So if anybody wants to assist, like it sounds like Alan was going to jump in, then what's going to happen is Alan's going to take a stress, and then he's going to draw 1 card to try to hunt for some sort of hit to help out Katri and Celestine.
Yeah, I'm thinking that I'm going to play to Ruthless, and I get up and I pull myself over to Katri and forgotten tell the name Celestine, and I say, if you can't sort this out, you two get into suits and do it the hard way, okay?
Okay. So that sounds good. Take a stress. Take one of those little red boxes. Put it on your first stress box, Alan, and draw 1 resolution card, hunting for something to help out Celestine and Katri. Edge. Okay, that is a hit. That's a hit with complication. So we are doing...
It's all about motivation, guys.
Mm-hmm. I forgot to say what move we're doing. We're doing the peril move called Face Adversity. Trigger this move when you try something dangerous and no other move fits. On a hit, you succeed. On an edge, you succeed, but the GM chooses a cost. Gain stress, lose or break something. Something else complicates the situation. Someone reacts badly to your actions. You take too long or make too much noise. I think that basically Katri says, fine, Amos. And he pulls out like a little fob and he plugs it into the computer, and it injects some sort of like virus that like infects the system, but it also infects the computer on your ship. So your computer, like maybe up front where I think it was Roy and the pilot are sitting Styles, the screens all go garbled, they go black, they reboot, things start, the lights go off, everything starts freaking out in the systems on your ship. but the doors of this landing bay, these giant doors, start to open as you're approaching, slowly through space. Roy, at that point, yeah, there's a whole screen, like you're probably looking at them now because so many of them are blinking on and off, but all of the cameras that are showing, left, right, rear, fore, below, above, showing you what's around you of your ship. You're looking at the one that is showing the rear view as you see your ship, the Gibraltar, in the distance. And suddenly you look there, and suddenly there's a flash, and it lights up obviously the camera, but also the windscreen, the screen in front of you guys, up in the cockpit. It lights up, and you see that your ship has exploded, and there are, immediately there's a pressure wave that hits you, and all kinds of wreckage starts flying in your direction. And Stan starts saying, "Oh my god, oh my god!" He starts pushing buttons. He's like, "Okay, I've got to hit the, the on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1." He has to hit these different thrusters to try to evade and try to get into this landing bay. And
Amos, sit the fuck down.
right, right. And what do you do to try to help Stans to try to do this emergency maneuver?
I think that's Styles, the pilot.
That's Styles, the pilot.
Went up in.
Oh yeah. Styles, the pilot. Yeah, Stans just blew up, as did Falade. But yeah, Roy, what are you helping Styles do, or how do you go about helping him? What do we see?
Okay, so I'm guessing something simple, like there is some kind of a pilot joystick that operates the shuttle. So when Styles is pressing the buttons and the ship, the shuttle is rocking, so I just grab the I shout, "Look out!" and I grab this controller, to just steady the ship before it crashes into the station.
Right. Perfect. Okay, so we are also going to do the same move for you then. Your special move called NPC Do Their Thing. They draw the cards, or you draw the cards for them, but we can use their expertise. So first, you get one card for nothing. Do you or Styles have an expertise that would help here? I think.
Let's see, Styles.
I think pilot is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes. Do either of you have the right tool for the job? As we see you pull anything out of your pockets or out of your pack or something that would help you have the right tool for the job?
I don't think so. No. I was just looking what's happening and noticing that I should do this.
Right. And it's just a plain shuttle. It's not aerodynamic. It doesn't have any special thrusters or whatever that help with this. So I don't think so. Have we established anything that would give you significant advantage?
Well, I'm not sure.
Probably not.
Probably we are.
Yeah. And then finally, do you push yourself? Do you want to take a stress to get a third card?
Let's try to do that. Why not?
Okay, so just give yourself one of those red boxes onto your first stress box, or red X's.
Yeah.
And when you are ready, you're going to draw 3 resolution cards.
Okay. Miss.
Try it. So whenever you get triumph, don't even worry about the rest, because that's the best card you can get. Yeah, that's as good. That's a complete hit. So go ahead and narrate for me how you and Styles successfully, despite all this wreckage and pressure wave, blasting into you, how you fly into this landing bay.
So I grabbed the controller because Styles is for a while he's unable to because of the he's lost his balance, and that's just enough for him to come back and we both do this, and we just kind of crash into the whatever it is, the
landing bay.
connection, the landing bay.
Yeah,
Just enough for to not be able to not have any damage.
right.
But it was a close call.
Okay. So you guys fly into this landing bay. Styles hits like the reverse thrusters or whatever. There's no gravity, so that you just a matter of stopping the momentum. These huge landing bay doors shut, and there's a hiss and a blast of like all this as the bay pressurizes. There's a mist of oxygen and whatnot. It's flowing into this landing bay, and it's very dark in here. You can see out your windshield. There's just red like emergency lights. Usually when you would land into a landing bay, everything would light up. It would be bright white and everything would be, obviously extremely visible. But it's extremely dark in here. There's only like red emergency lighting. Let me take a moment to introduce another thing that we have in our game. On the upper left of the player surface, the tabletop, there's a bunch of cards, like they say, like life support, emergency power, et cetera, et cetera. These are all the different systems that you might run into on the station. And most of them say broken. So you're going to find that most everything on the station starts out broken. You can be repaired, but right now you do have life support and you do have emergency power. But things like intercoms, self-destruct system, cameras, med bay, all that kind of stuff, it's all broken. So as we play the game, like I said, you can do things to try to fix things if you need to. So you come to a crash, you come to a stop, and you realize, what has just happened, that you've crashed. There was the bright flash. Those up in front definitely know from the start, that your ship is gone. And I think Styles will turn and he'll say, everybody, the Gibraltar, it just exploded. It's gone.
Shit. All right, who left the fucking stove on? And I'm going to reveal my agenda card, which is quick-witted.
Right.
Comic relief.
Wow.
Comic relief, sorry.
Comic relief. Okay.
Because reveal this card with a joke after something horrible has happened, and I think something horrible has just happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Sure.
How slappily?
Fucking take a joke, man.
Yeah, stop joking around and someone tell us what happened.
Just by the by.
Exploded.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I saw that, but why? What? Why?
Maybe the code injection. But we need to remember the people we have lost. Take a moment, think of them, their sacrifice, and how it can benefit us. There's 2 less people to consider.
What? 2 less people to consider? Fucking hell.
That's not a good start.
We got something. And I think as we're talking, right, like there's the clang of like debris hitting the outside of the space station, right? Like a hail of storm, like that passes quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Where the fuck is everyone?
Well, it does make our mission here very different, doesn't it? Because there is no claim on the ship now.
There's no ship.
Exactly.
There is the issue of the insurance. But I hate to break into the role play, but do I not get to draw a card for overwhelmed because I hit Lee?
Sure. Let's pause the role play for a moment. There's actually a few mechanical things to cover here. So first of all, just experiencing this, whether it's Amos has bumped his head, Lee has lost his friend Stans, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody take a stress. So everybody take one of those red boxes.
And I think after the very bad joke, Lee was kind of like laughing semi-hysterically, like sort of like just disbelievingly about it kind of thing.
Okay. So let's talk about Will's card, Comic Relief. So Will, you now have 2 new expertise. When we get to you, you can use Comic Relief and you can use Quick Witted. Those are 2 new expertise. Now, when you lighten the mood with jokes, banter, or acting the fool, you may reduce the stress of everyone present by 1, or completely clear the stress track of any one person. However, the next threat to enter a scene where you are present will target you. Let's face it, comic relief characters never see the 3rd act. Do you want to? You don't have to, but do you want to trigger that here?
Yeah, why not? Yeah,
okay.
Why not? Let's have that joke have alleviated the stress of everybody as like unbelievable as it is, right? Like
sure. So you want to do everyone reduce their stress by 1, or do you want to reduce the stress completely of 1 person?
Well, I think that we've all just taken a stress, right, in theory. So I'd like to essentially negate that stress because clearly I told a much better joke than what I actually came up with.
All right, so everybody go ahead and take away a stress.
My understanding is that move doesn't apply to myself.
It does.
Oh, it does. So I remove
yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. That's the what I intended. Yeah. So yes, everybody reduce your stress by 1. So now that power is sort of like been triggered. Until a threat comes and attacks you, basically, you can't do it again. Okay. And then finally, you win if you get everyone at the table to laugh or crack a big smile at least once. So that's your drive. All right.
Cool. Now I see. If I read closely, I could have just waited and reduced my own stress by 1. When Amos hits me and tells me to shut up.
And I think that also triggers you. I think Amos was looking to get you to shut up. So I think you if you have, I don't know, do you have another stress?
No, I don't. No.
Okay, so now it sounds like Alan wanted to trigger the overwhelm move with his slap. So
of course I had 2 stress, so the joke takes 1 away, but the slap is to get rid of the second one.
Why not? Perfect. So let's go to the overwhelm move. This is a good time to get that on the table. Let's see. Choose how you try to cope. It sounds like you're behaving badly.
I am.
Okay. Role play a verbal or physical conflict with another PC. Share a story that teaches us something about your character and helps explain why you dislike the other person, and then draw. So again, what do we see you saying, or do we see a flashback that tells us more of your dislike of Lee?
I think it is that flippantness. There is something underneath that world weariness of Amos. I think he's got a secret, and that was just maybe a response to or a surfacing of that secret. I don't want to reveal a card yet. But that obsessiveness he has about pulling his shirt sleeves down is his way of getting it under control, I think.
Okay. All right. So then we will draw. So you use expertise that would help you win the conflict. Does Amos have anything that would help win this conflict?
Ruthless.
Yeah, I think that fits. Does Amos have the right tool for the job? Is there any piece of equipment? No, probably not. If you had some brass knuckles or something.
It's functional. Maybe, it's functional, but it's not.
No, it's not the right tool. Is there anything we've established that gives you significant advantage?
I would say the fact that I was declared in charge.
Yeah, I can give that to you. I think that works. And let's see, that takes you to 3 cards. Do you wish to push yourself? Take a stress to reduce stress. No,
because the whole point is to get back to 0.
All right, so when you are ready, 3 cards.
Miss.
Does anyone want to help Amos abuse Lee? Or hinder? You don't need to hinder, though, because he's already got misses. So, no one else jumps in? All right. So you're just going to flat out miss. So then we go to the next part, consequences. Choose one of the following, leaning towards choices that follow the fiction. On an edge, blah, blah, blah. But we're doing on a miss. You choose none, and the GM chooses 3. All right, I get to choose 3 of these consequences for you. Oh, you do reduce the stress, though. Even on a miss, you do reduce your stress.
I do.
Yeah.
So that worked.
Yeah, it worked. Let's see. Narrate how your actions upset another. I think that I'll give this to Will. Which of the NPCs is also an ally of yours? Is it Styles the pilot, Khatri the comtech, the investigator Glover, or the mechanic Hawks?
I think it's Hawks, because I think that Hawks was also a really good buddy of Stan's.
Sure.
Maybe even has that tattoo that we share, basically, as well.
Right. Hawks is all stressed out. You can see her jump. She unstraps her 5-point harness. She jumps up. She grabs her spanner out of her overalls and wails hits you in the side of the head. It's a glancing blow, Amos. So this is going to be you upset another. They mark stress. That's going to be Hawks. You're also going to suffer a hurt. This is a good time to talk about this too. There's a handout called Harm. There's several layers of harm. Basically, you could just go anywhere from just gaining some stress all the way to being killed. You're going to suffer a hurt. This is going to be, I'm going to say you've got a boxed in ear, like she cups your ear really hard. So you're going to have very poor hearing. Your hearing's going to be until you get some medical care. So there's a spot on your character sheet called harm. You can just put damaged ear or bruised ear or something, poor hearing. And somewhere later on, if you want to try to get some medical aid, you can take it away. But until then, your hearing is going to be, reduced. Okay, and then I get one more. I'm going to say that this is taking up valuable time and threat will increase. I'm going to get myself a threat card.
It's clearly like a shouting match in the
exactly.
cabin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lee is, I think, for most of it, just kind of holding the face where she was slapped, and just looking a bit shocked and dazed at the whole thing, while Hawks is probably like, you come here again, I'm gonna rip your
right.
Yeah. I imagine a verbal exchange with Hawks that escalates to pushing, and then she reaches down and whaps me.
Mm-hmm. I'm picturing Hawks as a pretty sturdy, strong individual. So I'm picturing maybe Amos isn't so much. Although I can't remember. Do you have? You are athletic, so you're not a wimp. So, but yeah, she gives you a good hit in the ear, like we said.
Glover's must be the guy you find. He's got the disarming quality, right? So Glover,
right.
the NPC, must be the one who's
okay.
Now listen, everybody, calm down. Okay.
I want him to be a bluff Yorkshireman because that is who that is.
Calm down, lads. Calm down. Hey,
calm
no
down.
Trouble here.
Love it. Perfect. I'm going to play one of my cards. Why not? Let's throw it all out there today. I'm going to play this one. This card is called Something is Out There. The PCs describe what they see, hear, or sense that tells them that a monster is nearby waiting for a perfect opportunity. I'm going to give this to Daniel, again, I should start remembering these names, Roy. So I think, Roy, you're looking out the windshield, trying to see what you can see. The mist of the pressurization is faded. You're looking out into the bay. In fact, let's roll this into another thing that we need to establish. There's a move called, don't let me forget, but we'll come back to you, Daniel, for this card I just played.
Okay.
But let me do another thing too. Location move. When we enter a new location, we do a move called New Location. When you arrive at a potentially dangerous destination, the GM provides a rough description of the location's dimensions and appearance, and then the PCs complete the following steps. So I think we've kind of described a little bit. So this is a landing bay. You're looking out the window. There's only the red lights, but it shows you a little bit. It's, as you would imagine, it's very big. It's towering. There's, very solid steel walls with all kinds of like writing O3, landing bay O3. There's large double doors that would lead out of here. I think that's just the basic dimensions and appearance is that. But then what we do is we give you guys an opportunity to add some details. So let me start. It makes sense. Let me start with you, Roy. The first time the locations visits, the players define a couple of genre-appropriate features or aspects that help the PC further their development. So this is basically, what do you see that's out there that would be cool, that would be genre-appropriate, or that would help you accomplish something that you want to do? Okay, so looking out the window, what is something that Roy notices?
So I just picked from this ideas.
Yeah, I have some tags there, to work from, but you can basically describe whatever you want. The tags are dark, foreboding, rundown, outdated, smoke or mist, flashing lights, dripping fluid, biomechanical, haunting, majestic, mysterious, retro, futurist. Again, those are just sort of like to give you the feel, but you can put whatever you want out there. What do you see out the window?
We'll see. Maybe we already established that there are some flashing lights. So there is some kind of a reserve power. So maybe there are some kind of lit spots that show some kind of places where we can interface with the station to open some doors or something like that. Yeah, some emergency computer,
right,
or something like that. And the lights show it when we go.
Perfect. I like it. Let's do one more. Let's go to Will. What's another thing you want to add to this scene?
There is a power loader that's fallen over. Like maybe next to some crates and things. It's hard to tell whether or not perhaps it was knocked over in our kind of slightly hard landing inside the landing bay. But yeah, it's not longer standing up.
Okay, great.
And the power loader is the big walker thing, Daniel, from Aliens, if you remember.
Yep. All right, that is perfect.
Basically.
And then let's see. The GM places a non-monster threat. The big blah blah blah. All right. Let's look at our non-monster threats. Let's see what would be good for here.
0G.
No.
Okay.
I like. Okay, I know what it is going to be, but I'm not going to say it yet. And then entering a new scene, I also get another threat card. Okay. So I think everyone's stressed out. There's this big conflict. I think Styles, he says he grabs a fire extinguisher off of the side, like by the door. He grabs a fire extinguisher and he goes, "Oh shit!" And he hits the button. He opens the cabin doors. All this oxygen flows in. There's a pressure change. Your ears pop, and he runs out immediately with this fire extinguisher. And you hear him. He runs out, and you hear the fire extinguisher start to go off. Roy, what do you do?
Well, I am. I'm sorry. Who was that? Who was going out?
It was Styles, the pilot.
Oh, the pilot.
You were up front with him. He's looking at all the screens in front of him. Everything's redlined. Everything's blinking. Like I said, we already established the computer's freaking out. So things are crashing and lots of red lights.
Yeah. Okay. So I shout to the others, the who are fighting, to stop fighting, and it's simple, guys. We just have to go forward now because there's no coming back. So please help us with with setting up here. And I follow Styles to help him take care of the damage if there is some.
Sure. Right. All right. So you go outside the hatch also. what are the other guys going to do as this is happening? Oh yeah, we haven't checked in with Paul for a while. What's Celestine doing? She was saying something about now. Now it sounds like you were saying like basically like, there's less people to work to divide up the booty with, right? So
yeah. Which I think is a positive advantage. But I'll go over and see Amos because clearly him and Lee have had this argument, and I will say, Amos, I'll have a look at that air for you, Amos, and I will pull from my bag a quite clunky prosthetic ear, and I will attempt to heal your wound using my prosthetic ear, and I will reveal that I am a doctor.
ooh, all right.
Dun dun dun.
You have a background as a doctor, physician. All right, so you have 2 new expertise, physician and biology. Reveal this card when you share the story of how you lost your medical license. So as you're doing this, maybe you're telling him how you lost your medical license. What do we hear you say?
Well, I think it's Amos sort of looking at the prosthetic that I'm about. I mean, it's not invasive. It looks more like Uhura's sort of earpiece, like a modern air trumpet sort of thing. But you know what? So what's your reaction to that, Amos?
Get that fucking thing away from me. If I heard you, because from my point of view, we see your mouth moving, and I'm kind of what?
As I'm sort of jamming this thing, and basically you can then hear, and I was saying, I've done this procedure many times. Do not worry, Amos. Do not worry at all. Some people did not see the visionary angle that I am going for in the core systems, but out here on the frontier, it is fully legal, I believe, and it sort of clicks in and out. Sort of. Well, hopefully, you do start hearing things.
Jesus!
Let's try and fix that wound.
All right, let's do it. So you get 1 card for nothing. You get 1 card for expertise. That's pretty clear. Is there anything we have? I'll give it. You know, the earpiece. I think it's only fair to give that to you. So we'll give you the right tool for the job. So 3. You have 3 cards. Is there anything we've established that would give you significant advantage?
I don't think so. I mean, we're not in an operating room or anything like that.
Well, I mean, I'm just reading what's on the card. When performing medical aid, you can draw with significant advantage if you express guilt or remorse and increase your stress by 1. I'm just saying.
Do you want to?
I don't feel that guilty about shoving a bit of cyber in your ear.
Okay. All right.
Or about all the people you left behind, right, Paul?
Yeah.
Like the vision.
Yep. I don't hear any shame in his game. So let's move on. Do you want to take a stress to get yourself an extra card?
No.
This is just the push that everybody would get.
Nope.
Okay. So I think we're at
3
1,
cards.
2, 3 cards. 3 cards. Go ahead.
Okay. Here we go. Number 1.
Edge.
That's something. Number 2 is a miss, and number 3 is something.
Okay. So as always, if anybody can have rationale why they are helping, they can do so. But otherwise, let's look at edge.
I think that Lee and Hawkins, like Lee pulled Hawkins away, right? Like and followed Roy off the ship, basically. Trying to get out. You know, we've got a problem to deal with.
Sure,
so, yeah.
sure. All right, so this is the move, fix something or someone. It's a safety move. When you have appropriate tools and access to sufficient facilities, I think you kind of created your own. I don't think you needed a full med bay, so that's fair. Share a story. We already did that with showing the card. As you make repairs to a person or thing on a hit, you fix it. You ended up with an edge. So you're going to fix the ear. So Alan, you can just sort of, I think just for narrative purposes, kind of leave that your ear was damaged, but the mechanical effect is fixed. So he's improved your hearing. That's okay. But on a triumph, you have to. Oh, on a triumph, you would choose 1 from the list, so you get something good. So I think you just fix it. That's it. Perfect. Now back to you, Roy. So you go out and you see that Styles is spraying this fire retardant foam all onto the ship. You see that a large section of the hull has been smashed and ripped away by some sort of wreckage. There's a electrical fire that's going off. that clearly there's massive amount of damage to the ship. And Sal's goes, oh no, oh no, oh no. And he names off a whole bunch of like engineering gobbledygook about the ship. He says, oh, we're not going anywhere, guys. We're not going anywhere. And Roy, getting back to this card that I flipped over, this card called Something is Out There. Describe what you see, hear, or sense that tells you that there's something's out there, what we would call a monster. What do you find or hear or sense?
Well,
and we as players know, the characters don't have any idea, but we as players know that the xenomorph is out there, right? So you can draw from what we know from the movies. That's fine.
When we look into the what's his name, the established what will establish the machine, the
shuttle,
power loader,
the power loader, yes. There is some blood there, as if someone was operating it and then was brutally murdered. Maybe even some remains of a body.
Torn strap, maybe like dangling.
Yeah, something like that. But not not a real body, but just some remains of some kind of struggle.
Right. Traces. Maybe there's like an arm, like a disembodied arm is still attached into the harness.
Yeah,
and you can see on there's sort of like the guard bars. You can see that there's like deep scratches of something horrible. And obviously the arm was not cut off surgically; it was ripped off, or the body was ripped away from it. Right?
Yeah.
It's perfect. I like it. So that has some mechanical effect. I can leave it on the table, and I now can, when a monster appears, it can come out of nowhere, and we'll see how that plays out later. Okay, so we have, most of you guys are out in this this cold, highly oxygenated landing bay, and I think I mentioned there was these large double doors, and I think what happens is a light comes on over these doors, and you see sort of like a large camera lights up, and there's sort of a red dot, that appears. And I think you guys would know enough from your experience that means that the AI, has become active, the ship's AI, and it says welcome to Haven Station. The Haven system welcomes you. We are experiencing some mild disturbances in our processes and the functioning of the ship. Please remain here. Agents are being sent to you as we speak. Please remain calm. Help is approaching. And I think that's a good place to stop for today. Any questions about mechanics? Let's just do this in terms of stars and wishes, and then you guys can ask questions and give some positive and constructive criticism out, and we will let me start first by saying I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea how to mesh together all the bits and pieces that we've thrown out there, but I will by next week have answered some key questions. So I think we're off to a very good start, but let's do classic stars and wishes. Let me start again with Alan. Do you have any feedback for us?
Oh, stars, I think for the how do you describe it, setup and orientation. I think that those questions are appropriate. They helped us build the specifics. It helps that we're all familiar with the Alienverse, but then kind of who's going to be playing a game like this, who isn't? So yeah, I think that my stars go for that kind of in terms of for you. I think then stars for Lee for cracking wise and getting slapped for it. Paul Celestine is. There's something up with Celestine. There's a screw loose in there somewhere, and I'm looking forward to exploring whether it is a screw or just milky blood. And Roy just, I mean, maybe this is based on the picture, but his naivete of just, yeah, no, I'll follow the pilot off and help sort things out. That can only lead to trouble, Daniel. So thank you for that.
Do you have any wishes? You want to come back around and do that?
No, not really. No, I mean, I suppose the mechanically, the only I was finding navigating everything on that one kind of desktop quite tricky. It's less cluttered now than it was, but I do find that I'm having to zoom in to read stuff and then zoom out to find where stuff is. So that's my only kind of on a physical table with actual cards where you could pick one up and look at it. That's easy, but I think it is. I have a Roll20 is my favorite.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no solution to that, but I hear you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Let's go to Paul.
Some good RP all around the table. Some characters already. Even in 1 hour of play. So really enjoyed that. Some people brought some good characters to the table. Wishes. I must admit I can't read the Roll20 screen at all. If I zoom out to look at everybody's character sheet, and I've got quite a high resolution. This is a MacBook Air. It's not got a duff screen. I can't read anything. Is there any way of getting the character sheets onto a Google sheet? I mean, the card system is really good, and I see the point of Roll20 for that. But if I want to look at everybody's character sheet, this ain't very good for that, I don't think. I don't know if I'm meant to look at people's character sheets, but I preferred the characters on a Google sheet and then just tab flick to... because I don't think the two need to work at the same time. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll think about it.
Yeah, so I could easily read people's character sheets and things like pictures go in there really easy, and then you might have more space for the cards without the character sheets on there. Just an idea. Yeah,
I think it would have to be an adjunct to the tabletop if we created a character keeper of some sort. I'm probably spoiled because I have a second screen. It's pretty big, and I have to zoom in and out a lot. I think it's just part of how it works. I think even with the original Zombie Worlds, it's the same thing. You have to zoom in and out a lot. What I would suggest, especially with your own characters, you might think about copy and pasting onto a Google Doc of your stuff so that it's easier for you to just find your information when the time comes. Go ahead.
You could always add some of those details, because it's really what you're looking at is like the qualities, right? Like the roll and stuff like that and kind of thing. So there's no reason you couldn't add that to the bit that says cast at the top of my Google Doc. Like you could add it underneath the name of Celestine, right? Like medic, ex-doctor, etc. Because they're like it's a tag-based system essentially to a great extent, right?
Sure.
Stress, I think, is the only thing that you're really keeping track of on the screen, and that is at a high enough resolution that I think you could probably live without zooming in and out. Just as a suggestion, because it is a separate system to the base system.
What I'll say, Paul, as a working solution is let's stick with it another session. See if you get more comfortable with the zooming in and out, and also there's not a lot to remember except for your own character. I mean, if you remember that Alan is the sleazy. Oh, sorry, Alan. If he's the corporate rep, and you remember that Lee is the comic relief medic, just sort of like one-liners of everybody else's characters is probably enough to tell a story. Really, there's not a whole lot else probably really to remember. You don't really need to know about the nuts and bolts of other people's characters so much. I don't think really. But like I said, let's give it another session, see if you get more comfortable, and then we'll maybe come up with a different solution if that doesn't work. Okay, but thank you for that. Daniel.
Sorry. Well, I don't have much to add. I think I would give a start to the setup mechanics and idea. I think it's really great, and also how characters are created. It's very intuitive and nice. And the role playing was good. I was surprised that some of the agendas have already revealed that it's really good. So I just, I don't have really anything to add. It's really good. I don't have also any wishes, except for I can't wait to reveal my background, my character's background and agenda. And also, as someone who is also thinking about running something like this, I'm wondering what is the ratio of the different types of cards in the deck.
Oh, right. The resolution deck.
The resolution deck.
Yeah. There's 11 cards. There are 6 misses, 3 edges, one triumph, and 1 opportunity. Yep.
Nice.
It's the same as Zombie World.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
the resolution deck. Yep. So it's probably very similar to if you roll 2d6. I imagine. I've never really sat down and sorted it out, but I imagine it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then finally, Will.
Yeah, I love Zombie World. I do like this hack. I sympathize with the issues around Roll20 and the deck and everything. I think that there are ways around it, but like the ways around it sort of rely on a bit of familiarity as well, right? Like, but yeah, I really enjoy the setup. I really enjoyed creating a Medicine Sans Frontiers in the outreaches of space that's possibly connected to a cult and all kinds of things. I like the whole back character setup, and I did really enjoy how the background of Paul's character Celestine, the physician, came out in terms of that, like how you lost your medical license, right? And because especially like treating Amos, right, who's probably the guy who handles like contracts and everything, right, is that he would know that you don't have your medical license because why are you the science officer rather than the doctor, right? Like, so, and then that whole like, well, here's the techniques that I use, this how I've got these eyes sort of thing. I like how sinister he is and how that sort of tied in with the fiction as well of everything. So yeah, obviously my wishes are, Experience of Zombie World says that after everyone gets used to the mechanics and everything, like it does flow a lot quicker. And I do actually really enjoy the card-based system quite a bit. Wishes are for bad things to happen, people to die, and maybe some sort of in-universe rationalization for why the Giver exploded.
Right. Yeah.
Like, but yeah, looking forward to more of Alien Worlds.
Yeah, and I was kind of touching on this when I talked about Paul's concerns. I think whether it's the reading the cards and the zooming in and out, getting comfortable with the Roll20, getting comfortable with how Zombie World works, it's a learning experience. It's kind of a steep learning curve, but I think you guys are kind of at the peak now. I think it's all going to be smoother. I knew that today's session was going to be mostly set up. I'm glad we got a nice session, an hour, but I fully expected it would take the 2 hours that it did to get us to that point. And but now we've done that. Now we've got 4 more sessions. Although Paul, you're going to miss one, it sounds like. But we've got 4 good sessions. It's going to be all good story from now on. So we'll have a lot of fun next week too. Something else I was going to say. I don't remember. If it's important, I'll put it on Slack. Thank you very much, guys. Is it okay if I make this public?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure thing.
And like I said, I will wait until we're all done, and then I'll just throw last month's and this month's all out at the same time, as long as everybody's comfortable with each session. But we're off to a good start. So thank you very much. I will see you next Sunday morning for me or afternoon for you guys.
See you guys.
Cheers, guys. See you next time.
See you guys. Bye-bye.